What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. 2MB Chapter 26 Emerald Island is an island under the sea. Dover, to tell you the truth, we came to North Blue to look for an island called Emerald Island. It is said that this island is located somewhere in the waters of North Blue. But after we came here, we searched again and again, but we didn't have the slightest clue. I wonder if you have heard of Doflamingo? Cronus asked Doflamingo. He didn't tell anyone that he had a treasure map. After all, the fewer people who knew about this kind of thing, the better. They also wandered around the waters near Emerald Island marked on the treasure map for a long time, but did not find Emerald Island. Ha 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 ha. What did I think it was? If you go to the intelligence market to buy information, you may not be able to find out. I have heard the legend of Emerald Island before. This is a quite legendary island. Doflamingo listened. The problem of Kronus was solved. Kronus and others' eyes lit up when they heard Doflamingo's words. Sure enough, Doflamingo, the North Blue local snake, had a few brushes. As Doflamingo spoke, he also ordered the surrounding family cadres. Go to the station's database to find information about Emerald Island. If you have any, bring it to me. After hearing Doflamingo's instructions, Torbil dragged his body with a thick nose and walked towards the residence of the Don Quixote family. Torbil's body covered in snot and mucus gave people an unappetizing feeling. Kronus couldn't help but give him a big thumbs up for Doflamingo's generous help. Dover, you North Blue local snake really has a lot of skills. Brothers, bring all the Baileys that have been robbed from the Don Quixote family to my good brother Doflamingo, Kronus also ordered to the ordinary members beside him. He couldn't pretend not to notice Doflamingo's overtures. What he did was not authentic, but Doflamingo was able to share the information so generously. Although Doflamingo didn't know what he was going there for, he had to accept his responsibility. There is no reason to take back the Bailey that I, Doflamingo, sent away. Doflamingo waved his hands repeatedly. Then let me pay you for asking for information, Kronus interrupted Doflamingo. A little information is not worth so much. If you really appreciate me, just help me with good projects in the future, Doflamingo said with a smile. Kronus saw that Doflamingo was really stubborn and finally let it go. If he really goes to attack Marijoya in the future, it's not impossible to bring Doflamingo with him. Kronus, I have to warn you in advance that the Emerald Island I saw in the information is not that easy to see, Doflamingo reminded quickly. Kronus frowned after hearing Doflamingo's words. Is there any special saying here? Doflamingo poured Kronus a drink and said, it's not that magical. You should know about Fishman Island. Kronus nodded. Isn't this an island under the sea? Is it the Emerald Island too? The Fishman Island is an undersea island 10,000 meters deep under the sea. The Emerald Island is also an undersea island, Fanoka suddenly said from the side. You are really right, Doflamingo nodded seriously. Kronus realized something. No wonder they never found the Emerald Island in that sea area. If Emerald Island was an island under the sea, then everything would make sense. Emerald Island, like Fishman Island, is an island under the sea. However, the depth of Emerald Island is not as deep as that of Fishman Island, only 500 meters under the sea, but it also cut off the thoughts of most people. After all, there is no coding place in North Blue, Emerald Island does not have any special resources, and the pirates and marines of New World don't even bother to explore it. Doflamingo said with a dry mouth and took a sip of wine. Given the difficulty of capturing it, the island's reputation has slowly faded. It's just that Emerald Island floats once every 100 years or so. I forgot the date of the last time it floated, but it should probably float once in the past few decades. Every time you go up, Emerald Island is covered with all kinds of aquatic plants, which is why it is known as Emerald Island. Kronus felt relieved after hearing Doflamingo's words. Islands under the sea may be a problem to others, but to him it is just a small problem. Being able to use devil fruit underwater is so capricious. I have a detailed treasure map in my hand, and with the help of it, I can move freely under the sea. Finding the Emerald Island is already a sure thing, now we just need to verify whether there is a devil fruit in the treasure. By the way, there seems to be a Poseidon species living in that place. It's not that simple to dive into the sea to find it, Doflamingo continued. Kronus smiled and waved his hand after hearing this. It's just a small problem, the Poseidon class is just an extra meal. Kronus pointed to Jeffu not far away, we have the best cooks. For ordinary strong men, 500 meters under the sea, there is really nothing they can do against the Poseidon. But he was different. He transformed into the Wujiki form and tore it apart after a few blows. Doflamingo thought about his own strength, then looked at Kronus and others. For you, the Poseidon class is really just a small problem, but the Poseidon class on the seabed should be careful. After all, the sea has always been theirs. In the world, speaking of it, they are the masters of this world. Jeffu heard everyone talking about Poseidon. Poseidon is a high-end ingredient. High-end ingredients often only require the simplest cooking methods. I will make a soup for you when the time comes. Tetsuo has never cooked high-end ingredients like Poseidon, so it seems that he is about to unlock a new ingredient in his cooking dictionary. Haha, that's really a blessing, William's eyes lit up. Then everyone chatted together again, and Doflamingo also heard from everyone that Van Oka was going to Clint Island to participate in the sniper competition. As a North Blue native, he knows the local customs very well and has learned a lot about Clint Island. It is also recommended that everyone go to the Maldives, known as the Hot Spring Island, on the way to Clint Island. He said that the hot spring there has a healing effect on the body and mind, but there is a marine branch base not far away, and marines from the headquarters will go there to recuperate from time to time. You should be careful when going as a pirate. Chapter 27 New World, Powder Keg. Goa Kingdom in the East China Sea. A marine hero wearing a cloak of justice, holding a senbei in his hand and wearing a dog-head military hat, said seriously to the phone bug in front of him. What? Tell me to go back to the New World immediately? Kaido and Charlotte Linlin are doing little tricks in the New World. On and on. No, I finally brought Long to Windmill Village to spend family time. You are squeezing Laozi's good time. Garp was salivating while eating senbei. His good son Long was a little confused about justice, and he didn't know how to persuade him. He could only combine his vacation with Long's vacation and planned to take Long back to Windmill Village to relax. I also like to run to Windmill Village when I'm in a bad mood, and Long must be like that too. He is not a qualified father, but he still needs to give his son some encouragement when he is confused. Now, he suddenly received news from Cyborg Fleet Admiral, planning to let him return to the New World to suppress the pirates. As a marine hero, Garp does nothing but chase Roger. Another important task is to station in New World and suppress the hateful New World pirates. But most of the time, he doesn't stay at the marine branch of New World. After all, he has two major hobbies in life, one is chasing Roger, and the other is grabbing donuts with Sengoku. After all, Garp likes to eat senbei, but his favorite thing is the donuts in Sengoku's hand. On the contrary, Sengoku likes to eat donuts, and his favorite thing is the senbei in Garp's hand. Dad, the water in New World has become muddy again, Long also asked at the right time. Garp patted Long's chest. You take a good vacation. Your current state is very wrong. Take some rest before going to North Blue. Cronus won't be far from there. After Garp finished speaking, he sprayed the phone bug again. There was suddenly no sound on the other end of the phone, and after a moment of silence, Garp, you know, since Zefa's family was killed by pirates a few years ago, Zefa has now focused on teaching Marines' new generation. The Marine headquarters is indispensable for Sengoku, and now you are the only one who can go to the New World to intimidate Charlotte Linlin and Kaido. Cyborg Fleet Admiral's voice came from the phone bug. Cyborg was also very troubled. Charlotte Linlin and Kaido kept making little moves, stimulating the Golden Lion's nerves. Whitebeard was also restless and had some friction with Golden Lion. The current New World is like a powder keg, ready to explode at any time. The same goes for letting Sengoku and Ahe go to the Marine headquarters and leaving Zefa in charge for the time being. After all, Zefa is also a general. Sengoku and Ahe can take Sakaski and Perusalino to New World for training. As for me, I will rush there immediately after saying goodbye to the folks here. On the other side of the phone, Cyborg kept rubbing the pen on the paper as he pondered the feasibility of Garp's words. It will indeed take some time for Garp to arrive, and I'm afraid New World will become chaotic during this time. After all, Kaido and Charlotte Linlin have joined forces, and even the Marine headquarters must take it seriously. These are all the remnants of the Rock's pirates. Of course, it would be best for Sengoku and he to go to the New World, but the burdens on Sengoku and he are not light. It is not realistic to stay in the New World for too long. The top players in the pirate world now are undoubtedly Golden Roger, Whitebeard Newgate, Golden Lion Shiki and Red Earl Redfield. The next level players are Kaido, Charlotte Linlin and Ochaku. Wait. Although New World will make some big news from time to time, it has nothing to do with Marine. But now Marine has not completely lost control of New World, and it is impossible to turn a blind eye to such a thing. Let Charlotte Linlin and Kaido's alliance succeed, if you can make trouble and prevent their alliance. Of course Marine is willing. The Marine headquarters needs a general to be stationed for a long time. Although Zefa gradually retreats behind the scenes, there is no problem the Marine general will temporarily replace Sengoku. Going to the New World from Sengoku and Ahe can also scare the pirates in the New World. Bringing the two new generations of Marine, Sakaski and Perusalino, to meet the overlords of the New World will also help them grow. After all, they are all General Meowsy, Logia Devil Fruit users. Cyborg was silent for a while to make a decision. Then I'll do as you say, but I need you to resolve your personal issues quickly. I don't want our Marine seedlings to be lost in the New World. Garp was silent after listening to Cyborg's words. Long has a mission and it's not convenient for me to take him back. Even if Fleet Admiral does me a favor this time, you can tell Sengoku and Ahe that I will come back to treat them to dinner. If Zefa encounters a good seedling, I can help take care of it. I heard that there is a good little guy named Kuzan, and he can be transferred to my place for an internship for a period of time. A voice suddenly came from behind Cyborg Fleet Admiral. Who wants to treat you to dinner for such an inconspicuous person? You spend all day wandering outside, and the time to return to the headquarters is only a handful. Warring states, please don't talk nonsense. Didn't I work tirelessly to arrest evil on the sea? Besides, only when I came out could I create time for you and Ahe to be alone. Ahe's husband. You know, Garp expressed dissatisfaction. Long stood behind Garp, listening to what Garp and Sengoku were talking about and couldn't help but lower his head. The Warring States General liked the fact that Ahe was the counselor. Except for the two of them, no one in the Marine headquarters could tell. The saddest thing after the marriage of Staff Officer A, he was also the Warring States General. 2 years ago, Staff Officer A's husband died gloriously while suppressing bandits. The Warring States General has another chance, and Garp and everyone have tried to match him up, but the Warring States General, a straight man with steel, is really not good enough. Sengoku's face turned red. Garp, you can eat your food randomly but don't talk nonsense, otherwise I will enjoy those senbei you hid by myself. After hearing this, Garp immediately shouted, Sengoku, please don't touch my senbei, I saved it to challenge the record of eating consecutive senbei. Just eat it, I'll PS you off. The two began to spray each other on the phone bug. Okay, you're already a grown-up, and you're still arguing about such a trivial matter. Cyborg raised the corner of his mouth slightly when he saw that Sengoku and Garp were still the same as when he first took them. Please stop for a moment and do as Garp said. Let Sengoku and Ahe prepare tonight and go to New World tomorrow. As Cyborg said this, he secretly thought to himself, this is your old boss helping you again, so Warring States should be more confident. It's better to stage a wave of heroes saving the beauty or something like that. Garp, I'll give you half a month. After half a month, you must appear in the Marine branch of New World, Cyborg Fleet Admiral said harshly. After saying that, without giving Garp any time to react, he hung up the phone with a single click. Sengoku originally wanted to say a few words, but he could only stop after seeing Cyborg Fleet Admiral's actions. On the other side, Garp looked at the silent phone bug, opening his mouth wide and preparing to bargain. It's his privilege to hang up other people's phone calls in advance, but this time he was tricked by Cyborg. Hunting geese all day long, only to be pecked by geese. But I have to say that Cyborg Fleet Admiral is a bit disrespectful and does not give him any respect as a Marine hero. Do Marine heroes know what gold content is? Chapter 28 Doflamingo's Dream. Cronus was very happy to hear the news about Emerald Island at this time. The next time Emerald Island floats is about 2 months away. Clint's sniper competition that Van Oka was going to participate in was still a month away, so everyone accepted the invitation to the Doflamingo family's internal party without leaving in a hurry. Doflamingo is not very young, but he is very playful. There were many beauties at a party, and Doflamingo, as the centerpiece of the scene, was sought after by many beauties. When I was happy, I took the 2 beauties and went to the 2nd floor. Cronus, with the attitude of not having any fun, also took the 2 beauties to the 2nd floor. Happy time always passes quickly, a night of joy. Cronus woke up from a big soft bed. Lord Cronus, are you awake? A royal sister's voice came from the soft quilt. Lord Cronus, would you like to do some more morning exercises in the morning? A soft voice came from the other side. Cronus had a very pleasant night, but it was all content that could not pass the trial. Cronus is not the type with explosive muscles. He looks thin when dressed, but looks fleshy when undressed. Coupled with high-speed regeneration, your body and mind will be top-notch. They had never seen such a powerful man. Obviously they were not virgins, and Cronus did not have much psychological burden on him. Cronus came to a table made of Nanmu and gently lit a cigarette. It's okay to be happy, but it's not good to be too addicted. Cronus freshened up and met with Doflamingo. How was Cronus' night last night? Doflamingo asked with a smile on his face. It's great. Your reception, Dover, really opened my eyes. Cronus was very satisfied with last night's reception. Fufu, if you like, you can take those 2 sisters away from last night, Doflamingo said boldly. Cronus shook his head. If you don't want to indulge in such things occasionally, too much indulgence will only corrode people's will. Jeffu was making breakfast at this time. The knife skills were dazzling, and a large table of delicious snacks was quickly assembled. That's right, Jeffu is really blessed to have you here. You worked hard all night last night, and you can still get up so early this morning. Cronus looked at Jeffu with a smile. Speaking of which, none of them ran away yesterday, they all fell into the soft nest. Why can't I forget to cook? This is the guy who eats, Jeffu said. Speaking of Dove, do you have any dreams? Cronus also looked forward to Doflamin's dream and asked casually. Speaking of which, people will have dreams, but some people suppress them because their dreams cannot be realized. The sea is wide enough to accommodate everyone's dreams. Doflamingo was suddenly stunned. Dream? William patted his chest carelessly at this time. Although my ancestors, William, have been bandits for generations, as a bandit, I must reach the top and become the bandit king. Fan Oka touched his gun and it was self-evident, the world's best sniper. I just hope that my food can be liked by hungry people and be the greatest cook, Jeffu also suddenly interrupted. How come this scene of everyone chatting about their dreams is a bit warm? Doflamingo was touched in his heart. In the past, in Marijoya, all the celestial dragons talked about was how to torture slaves, and dreams were both very close and far away from them. They can realize their dreams anytime they want, but is it really a dream? Doflamingo kept asking himself. Being a businessman and the boss of the dark world was obviously not what he wanted. The more I think about it, the more confused I become. Think about it slowly. Doflamingo. Cronus patted Doflamingo on the shoulder. He admires Doflamingo. Doflamingo is capable, and he also wants to invite Doflamingo on his ship. The dream is just a means to bring the two of them closer at a time. Doflamingo smiled bitterly. My spiritual world is really boring. I don't even dare to think about such things as dreams. Cronus, you haven't told me about your dreams yet? Cronus stopped the dishes in his hands. I, Cronus, will definitely become the king of the world. Every word was so sonorous and powerful that Doflamingo trembled in his heart after hearing it. What an audacious dream, king of the world. This is to subvert the celestial dragons and subvert the rhythm of world government. What a bold dream, but after hearing what you said, I have some ideas of my own, Doflamingo suddenly said. He used to be confused. It turned out that he only wanted to be a celestial dragon. Now he can't change his mind, but the celestial dragons can't accept him. Then set a dream for yourself. Overthrow the celestial dragons. I'm not afraid of you making fun of me if I tell you my dream. I once only wanted to be a celestial dragon who ate and waited to die, but Mauricio wouldn't let me do that. Now I'll have a more rebellious dream and pull down these celestial dragons. Quagmire. Doflamingo somehow managed to speak such words to this group of people. Dover, do you want to join us? Cronus sincerely invited. Doflamingo was stunned for a moment and shook his head. Now I still just want to do some small business of my own. If one day you really want to be the king of the world and overthrow the celestial dragons, I will join you. Furfur, in this case, I wish us happy cooperation in the future. A pleasure to work with. This is a private banquet, and the people present are all people who can be trusted internally, and it will not cause any waves. But no one knows what kind of disturbance this meeting will cause in the future. Cronus and others are ready to go. With the help of Doflamingo, the supply of supplies to the brave and Tetsuo's cook was quickly completed. Doflamingo also gave Cronus all the intelligence information about the Emerald Island. Dover, see you next time. I believe we will be united in the future. Cronus said goodbye to Doflamingo. Then he drove towards the horizon without looking back. A group of daring guys, but it's really interesting and makes my blood feel warmer than it has been in a long time. Being a pirate seems to be a good idea. How about I also go to sea for fun in the future? Doflamingo thought as he looked at the departing hero and cook. Chapter 29 Trouble. The Marine headquarters moved very quickly, and the Marine fleet composed of the Warring States General Ahe and the new generation Sakaski and Perusalino headed towards the New World. Marine entering the New World is not as troublesome as pirates, and they have to go to the Sabodi Islands for coating. Enter the New World directly from the first half of the Grand Line via the crane on Marijoya. After entering the New World, it was like a fish entering the sea, and soon there was no trace. The pirates in New World are not too concerned about Marine's entry. After all, Marine still has these 3 Marine branches in New World. From time to time, Marine comes to New World. Most areas of the New World have completely fallen into the hands of pirates. Marine's entry is nothing more than leaving a stronghold to show that Marine has not completely given up on the New World. New World has been the place where pirates and Marines have fought for the longest time in the 800 years since the world government was established. Within a few years, Marine was thinking about counter-attacking New World. There was once a time when Marine occupied most of the New World. This was the so-called Great Marine Era. But the age of the Great Marine was very short in its 800-year history. Since the Valley of the Gods incident in Rocks, Marine's control over the New World has become increasingly weak. New World aboard Moby DK. Dad, Marine sneaking into New World this time has made the current atmosphere of New World even more depressing, Marco said to the white beard on the side. No matter what Marine is doing, as long as he doesn't provoke us, we won't take the initiative to provoke Marine. Whitebeard has blonde hair and is strong. He is not the decrepit, half-buried old guy he was during the war. That golden lion guy's appetite is getting bigger and bigger, now that the land grab has taken over our sea area. Do you want to fight me again? Whitebeard has already won the title of the strongest at this time. The physical fitness is top-notch, and you can give full play to the shocking fruits. That golden lion guy really has the idea of dominating the New World. He even wanted to join forces with Roger many times, but he was rejected by Roger. I don't know what he is doing this time. Marco touched his chin. What came to mind next? Dad, Charlotte Linlin and Kaido seem to have joined forces, and they have recently begun to seize the Golden Lion's territory. Charlotte Linlin and Kaido have not reached their peak growth at this time and are not taken seriously by Whitebeard. They are all troublesome guys. They were like this in the Rocks Pirates, and they are still like this after we are separated. The first half of the Great Line is an unknown sea. New World is really lively. If I weren't looking for the historical text, I would have planned to do it. Roger drunkenly held the bottle and listened to the information Rayleigh had just obtained. Rayleigh looked at the drunken captain in front of her and felt quite troubled. Just after we left Rouge, he started to lose control of his mouth again. The captain is really a mistress. If Rouge doesn't get on the ship, I'm afraid he won't be able to stop talking. Rayleigh remembered that Roger was not like this when he was on South Blue Batlila Island. Rouge didn't like drunk men very much, and Roger tried his best to restrain himself there. That guy from the Golden Lion has never given up on me. How did I attract him? Can't I change? Roger was also a little irritated. He also heard rumors that the Golden Lion appeared in South Blue some time ago. It didn't take a second thought to know that the Golden Lion must have gone to South Blue to catch him again. Think about it, Roger is also one of the top pirates. What kind of things are you chasing after him? The marine hero Garp in Marine, and a haunting Golden Lion. I have to run away from anyone I encounter, but it's not like I can't defeat them. The Golden Lion's ability is so abnormal, how can he do it without running? As for Garp, we have a friendship. He is a thief and he is a soldier, so we can only sneak him away from a distance like this. Chapter 30 Hot Spring Township. North Blue, the Maldives, the world-famous hot spring resort. After more than 10 days of running around, Cronus and others finally arrived at this place. There are still 17 or 8 days left before the sniper competition on Clint Island, and Cronus and others do not intend to be idle, and plan to take a comfortable bath in the hot springs in the Maldives. By the way, practice your armed skills and knowledge skills. After all, these are all the work of a watermill. The Maldives is a fragmented island, sparsely composed of countless small islands. That's why it's called the islands. Although there are many hot springs in the Maldives, they are also divided into 3, 6 or 9 grades. The best ones are of course the top quality hot springs on the main peak in the middle and halfway up the mountain. Although the hot springs on other small islands also have good healing effects, some are too small to accommodate one person. There is no cure. The people of the Kronos Pirates look for hot springs according to their own preferences, and some like to share the same hot spring in a lively manner. Some people like to be secluded and find a quiet place to be alone. William likes to hang out with his old subordinates. If Cronus didn't know that he still likes beauty, he might also doubt his sexual orientation. Van Oka, Zeph, and Cronus all prefer to be alone. Everyone did not disturb each other, they looked for their own quiet place, agreed on the time and place to gather, and then dispersed. The hot spring Cronus chose was a medium-sized spring in a remote place halfway up the main peak. The area near the large spring was too noisy, and Cronus didn't like it. Of course, there is no distinction between men and women in the hot springs here, they're all wild springs. Cronus took out a bottle of sherry, a specialty of the Maldives. It is said that this is a fruit wine with a unique fragrance brewed from hot spring water. Ah, it's so pleasant, it's indeed a famous hot spring island. When I soak in it, it makes me want to sleep. Cronus stretched himself. At this time, a warship from the Marine headquarters went to North Blue to perform a mission. After completing the mission of North Blue, it also headed here, intending to soak in the hot springs to relieve its fatigue. All Marine warships are female soldiers. They are female soldiers under the command of Lieutenant General Ahe, Marine's chief staff officer. They are considered the elite of Marine female soldiers. The female soldiers on the warship began to disembark one after another. Each one of them had a special aura that made people afraid to approach them easily. At the front of this group of female soldiers is a Marine female swordsman named Momosagi Gion, who is wearing peach-colored clothing and wearing a famous sword Kinpira around her waist. Marine does not only have generals who can have their own special code names. As long as you have strength and your own distinctive characteristics, even a brigadier general will be given a special code name. This represents Marine's internal recognition and also represents Marine's internal focus on training. After Gion came down with the female soldiers, he rushed towards his secret spring. Speaking of which, she often came to the Maldives, but most of the time it was Lieutenant General Suru who took him with her. She joined Marine in Gion since she was a child without a father or mother. Lieutenant General Ahe has always treated him as his own sister, and Gion joined Marine early. In total, Marine's military service is longer than that of Sakaski and other future Marine generals. Good old Marine. Gion came to North Blue this time to inspect North Blue and see if there are any talented Marine youngsters. After all, North Blue has produced Sakaski and Perusalino. These two guys are the pillars of the future Marine. North Blue cannot compare to the peace of the East China Sea, where gangs and mafia gather. From time to time, Marine has to send Marine generals from his headquarters to knock them over, and it is impossible for them to fully grow up. Marine had neglected the management of North Blue for a period of time, allowing the Vinsmoke family to completely occupy North Blue. This was a lesson learned. Another mission is to observe Doflamingo, a former celestial dragon. Doflamingo's identity is more difficult, and there are many officers within Marine who are unwilling to touch him. Only Gion in Marine has the background of Lieutenant General Ahe, and her identity and strength are sufficient, so she was sent here. Gion quickly found the Hot Spring Hotel, got a comfortable room, took a few bottles of sherry from the restaurant of the tavern, and walked towards his secret base. She prefers to be alone, and it is enough to enjoy such things alone. Soon she arrived at the remote spring halfway up the main peak, which was just right for her to soak there alone and enjoy the healing and beautifying effects of the hot spring. I took off all my clothes and touched my tender skin, all the troubles on my body were gone. The spring where Kronus was located was not small, and there were many stones blocking it. When he saw that there was no one around, he took off his clothes. After all, you are wearing wet clothes when you are in a hot spring. Why is it uncomfortable? Gion also knew that no one was coming around here, so he enjoyed it alone. Perhaps it was because they didn't expect that there would be other people around, and the two of them were on vacation, so they didn't have S**X. Gion gently poured herself a glass of wine, and the refreshing taste made her breathe a sigh of relief. But when she glanced at it, There seemed to be a looming figure behind the stone opposite. Guion quietly touched it out of curiosity. In a medium-sized pool, Cronus and Guion stared at each other. After Guion saw Cronus, he felt ashamed and annoyed. This was the first time a man had seen her naked. His face turned red, and he threw the wineglass in his hand in the direction of Cronus without thinking at all. The moment she threw the wineglass, Guion regretted it. Although she didn't use too much force, an ordinary person would get a bloody head if the wineglass hit her. Cronus's eyes widened, and his beautiful body made him laugh out loud. Cronus didn't react at all to the wineglass thrown at him, or perhaps Cronus didn't care about being knocked down. The wineglass made close contact with his head with a snap, and then the wineglass turned into several pieces and fell into the pool. Only then did Cronus realize that he had been beaten. Although I saw something that I shouldn't have seen, it's a bit unethical, but it's a bit too much to throw a cup at me with you. With a kick of his feet, he rushed towards Guion with a slight wave of water. If you dare to attack him, you will have to pay the price. After all, he is a vicious pirate. Guion quickly wrapped the towel around her body. She didn't have the habit of being spied on, and she faced an elbow from Cronus. She quickly raised her hand to resist. Of course she couldn't take her famous sword with her when she was in the hot spring. The hot springs are steaming up, shrouding the surroundings with fairy mist. The two began to fight tentatively, and soon Guion recognized Cronus. Cronus looked at Guion with a familiar look, but didn't recognize him immediately. However, I briefly caught a glimpse of the cloak of justice that Guion put on the shore. It was a marine. The fight between the two caused the entire hot spring island to shake slightly. Cronus' strong physique has long been confirmed, and Guion is a candidate for the future marine general. Naturally, physical fitness cannot be bad. People in the nearby spring felt the vibrations around them, thinking that the volcano was about to erupt, and one by one they started to pick up their clothes and run out. Most of the hot springs are concentrated near volcanoes. If there is a vibration, it is almost likely that the volcano will erupt. After Guion found out about Cronus's identity, she didn't hold anything back. As long as he was a pirate, she was in charge. She also started to become fierce with her feet and kicked Cronus hard in the crotch. Guion's kick is covered with armed domineering. If North Blue's local pirates are kicked, they will be in trouble. Of course, Cronus couldn't let Guion kick his lower body like this. This would be his future happiness. He grabbed Guion's legs with his hands and lifted them up. Cronus also accidentally touched his legs gently. It was so slippery. Guion felt shy and was shocked by Cronus' rogue methods. Needless to say, this is the first time a vicious pirate has offered a bounty on the head of a celestial dragon. Guion felt it. Then he pulled out his feet with a sudden force, made a fist, and smashed Cronus in the face. It looks like he will beat Cronus until his nose is bruised and his face is swollen. Cronus reacted very quickly, turning his face to the side and dodging. Guion quickly changed his moves and planned to continue hitting the sideways face. When Cronus saw Guion chasing after him fiercely, Cronus banged his forehead against Guion's fist. Then he stretched out his hands and strangled Guion's waist tightly. He can feel the touch. Cronus did not kill him, even though he was a pirate and faced Marine's natural opposition. But he knows that Marine is indispensable on the sea, even though Marine has various shortcomings. Just like Roger has enough strength to fight against Garp, but when facing Garp, most of them end up running away. They all know that Marine is indispensable in the sea. Although they are pirates, pirates and Marine are harmonious to a certain extent. No one can live without the other. Guion suddenly realized at this time that both of them were naked, and the bath towel she was wearing also fell somewhere in the fierce fight. Guion began to struggle hard, but Cronus' strong physique prevented him from breaking free. Guion glanced down and saw a stick-shaped object, which was so big. She knew she couldn't sit still and wait for death. He suddenly raised his foot and stepped hard on Cronus' foot. Cronus felt a pain in his foot. Because of the pain, the strength in his hand was reduced a lot. Guion took the opportunity to start to break free. Cronus took advantage of this battle, and his mood improved a lot. I remembered who you are. You are Momosagi Guion of Marine Headquarters. You are indeed a rose with thorns. Cronus suddenly remembered something and said. The mole at the corner of his mouth was not as deep as the original one, and Cronus didn't recognize it at the first time. Guion was furious when he heard what Cronus said. He had suffered a big loss. He is indeed a heinous criminal, and his character is so low. You have heard my story. Cronus frowned. Anyone who dares to attack and kill the celestial dragons. No one except you, Cronus, dares to do such a bold thing. But your courage is not that great. You attack Marine head-on. Do you think I dare not catch you? Cronus only reacted after listening to Guion's words. I, Cronus, am also a celebrity. We are enemies to begin with, and besides, didn't you attack me first? What a rude guy. After listening to Cronus' words, Guion realized that his secret base had been occupied by others in advance, and it was not Cronus who was following him. However, as a woman, she was the one who suffered the loss, but she still softened her words. You are a big pirate. Why can't you be more generous? Besides, I have been seen by you, and it is impossible to apologize. Who cares? Cronus curled his lips. Apart from the fact that you killed a celestial dragon and have a bad personality, you're pretty good, Guion suddenly said with a blush. Cronus is clueless and has big question marks. Is it fair for you, an animal-type devil fruit user, to have a fight with me, a swordsman? Wait until I go up, grab my sword and get dressed, and we'll have another fight, Zoan suddenly said excitedly. Cronus realized that he thought I was good and just gave me a label. The ultimate goal was to get me to agree to fight you again with the sword. Why not? After hearing this, Zoan quickly ran to the shore and quickly put on his clothes. Cronus followed slowly behind. The reason Cronus agreed was because he wanted to see what the so-called swordsman's fighting style was like. He has never fought against a real swordsman since he went to sea. There are quite a lot of swordsmen, but very few can reach the level of swordsman. Not to mention the great swordsman. Zoan waved the gold pira in her hand, forming a beautiful sword flower. Her momentum was constantly rising with the sword in her hand. Cronus also took it seriously at this time. It seemed that there was still a big gap between swordsmen with swords in their hands and swordsmen without swords in their hands. But Cronus wasn't too worried. Although Zoan was strong, it was still much worse than Dragon. There are so many potential guys in this young marine class. Zoan took action, and quickly stabbed Cronus' chest with the jinpira in his hand. Cronus couldn't help but admire Zoan's decisive and fierce fighting style. However, he reacted very quickly and his whole body, exuding an armament, collided with Zoan's jinpira, making a squeaking sound similar to the collision of metal. This armed color. Zoan was a little surprised when he saw Cronus covering his whole body with armed color. He is indeed a vicious criminal. Cronus. Zoan knew how to use armament hockey, but most people would only cover the area where they collide with the enemy with armament color. And with such blind spot coverage as Cronus, he undoubtedly has absolute confidence in his physical strength and the number of armed colors. When Cronus heard Zoan calling out the codename for which he was being rewarded, he couldn't help but curse. You are the one who is evil, your whole family is evil. Cronus didn't like that name in the first place. What does it mean to be evil? He was just doing justice to God. Chapter 31. Where does Quinn want run? To go to Kaido? That's it. Let's fight this time. Zoan waved his hands a little tiredly. Cronus's amazing physical strength is simply inhuman. They have been fighting all afternoon, and his own condition has declined a lot, but Cronus has remained at the very beginning. How can they fight like this? Cronus also smiled after hearing Zoan's words, even if he didn't know each other. Good. Speaking of which, there are many pirates who have a special bond with Marine, but Cronus thinks that he and Zoan will get along very well. Inside the hot spring tavern, Jeffu was preparing dinner, and Van Oka looked at Cronus with a strange look. It seems like the captain is getting involved with Marine again? Cronus faced everyone's gaze without any disturbance. By the way, are you Marines so free? You still have time to soak in the hot springs? Cronus asked Zoan while drinking sherry. Zoan rolled his eyes at Cronus. You said it as if Marine had to keep spinning for 365 days. You pirates can come on vacation, but we Marines can't have our own private space. We're human beings too. Cronus didn't pay attention to Zoan's words. Ha ha ha, it seems to be right. Speaking of which, if it weren't for some special reasons, I would quite like to join Marine. Cronus was not talking empty words. After all, when he first crossed over, his first choice was Marine, but he chose pirates because he had no channels at that time. I don't believe you want to join Marine. Zoan looked like he didn't believe anyone but you. Ha ha ha. Inside New World. Kaido and Charlotte Linlin began to officially confront the Golden Lion, intending to bite off a piece of meat on the Golden Lion's territory. Quinn originally had a great future in North Blue, and he was studying well in the North Blue Mads organization with Vegapunk, Caesar Kerrang, Vinsmoke Judge, Miss Bajan and others. Some time ago, they were suddenly disbanded by world government, and Vegapunk was also taken away by world government, and the entire team was separated. The remaining scientists were also pursued and intercepted by the world government. Quinn, as a scientist who ate the animal system, the dragon fruit, and the ancient form of a brachiosaurus, of course North Blue had to run to the Grand Line if it couldn't stay any longer. I thought I could prosper even if I raised a pirate flag, so I ended up in the New World unknowingly. Only then did I realize that the New World was also in chaos. Kaido, Charlotte Linlin and the Golden Lion were fighting in full swing. Whitebeard was also fishing in troubled waters. He also saw clearly how much he weighed. He planned to find an organization to join, but if he joined the Whitebeard Pirates, he would have to be his son, which was not his first choice. As for the Golden Lion's treatment of his subordinates, he thought about it again and decided not to choose the Golden Lion, even though he was the most powerful. Charlotte Linlin cares too much about blood relations, or else he can be a stallion for her. Although Quinn thinks she is handsome, she is also afraid of being squeezed dry by Charlotte Linlin. That's Charlotte Linlin, known as the Steel Balloon. I don't have steel balls to support me. It is widely rumored that Charlotte Linlin's husband will do anything to win favor. He does not want to be a male favorite. He does all these things all day long. He is a scientist. What's it like to study murder weapons and compete with other men for favors all day long? Besides, Charlotte Linlin also loves desserts. Anyone who joins the Big Man Pirates will be forced to like desserts. If you like red bean soup, you can't join. In the end, it was the most suitable choice to go to Kaido. As a person with animal devil fruit abilities, I have the best compatibility with Kaido. It is said that Kaido also gives preferential treatment to people with animal devil fruit abilities. There are several capable people under his command, and each of them lives an extremely nourishing life. Kaido doesn't have many restrictions on his subordinates' hobbies, and they can enjoy red bean soup. Quinn decided to moisturize, but how to moisturize is still worth thinking about. Cronus and others rushed to Clint Island after spending a hot spring vacation in the Maldives Islands. Clint Island also started the triennial sniper competition. In the first round of fixed targets and the second round of moving targets, Van Oka was undoubtedly out of the circle. In the third round, pairs faced each other, using special sniper rifles prepared by Clint Island to hunt each other in the jungle. It's really frustrating, Van Oka yawned. As the most prestigious competition in the sniper world, Van Oka had great expectations from the beginning. But the contestants who came to participate were so inferior that no one could catch his eye. As for the final game, they had to find positions in the jungle to snipe each other. Van Oka found a good place to sleep on his own. The sacred status of this competition is getting lower and lower in his heart. What did he look forward to when he was a child? This was just a show-off performance. The bullets used in the final sniper kill were also specially made bullets. They only served as a mark and had no lethality at all. For a sniper to take action, he would cause damage, which undoubtedly made Van Oka feel a little uncomfortable. It was originally agreed with Cronus that the idea of shooting guns while others were shooting was completely eliminated. Why are snipers so inconvenient? A sniper who can only use a gun is not a good sniper. With the efforts of Van Oka, she went as a bug and quickly won the championship with one shot. It's really a performance. It's such a pity that I didn't see you shoot at the opponent with a cannon, Cronus muttered as he looked at Van Oka, who was holding the trophy without any enthusiasm. Who says it's not? I've been looking forward to it. I think it looks pretty good. Van Oka is also very handsome. The winner of the 23rd Sniper King competition sounds very impressive, William encouraged from the side. It would be great if chefs also had a master of cooking competition, Jeffu envied. In the world of pirates, it cannot be said that chefs are not important, but they are not that important either. The biggest significance may be to ensure the supply of nutrition. Some pirate ships don't even have a serious cook. If there was a master of cooking competition, Jeffu wouldn't mind participating in it and becoming a master of cooking. Let's go, it's time to set off to Emerald Island, then it's time to return to the Grand Line to continue our journey, Cronus said to everyone. Yes. Speaking of Boss Cronus, I think the development of our pirate group is extremely unbalanced, Tetsuo said seriously from the side. Cronus scratched his head after hearing this painting. How can you see it? Haven't you noticed? Our pirate group is getting bigger and bigger, but the problem is that there aren't even any women on board. It won't be good if it continues like this. Cronus suddenly realized that most pirates did not have female crew members. Women were inherently weaker than men in strength and other aspects. But Tetsuo's words also made sense. It seemed that it was time to find 2 female crew members in the Grand Line. Chapter 32 Arriving at Emerald Island. The waters near Emerald Island, Cronus and others arrived a week before the Emerald Island surfaced. The sea near Emerald Island is so clear that you can see the bottom at a glance. Of course, Cronus couldn't wait for the Emerald Island to surface before looking for it. He took the treasure map in his hand and swam toward the deep sea. Captain Cronus is really messing around, Jeffu muttered to the side. However, no one was worried. The scene of Cronus carrying 2 boats for a cruise was still vivid in their minds. Boss Cronus, please remember to leave a whole corpse for the Poseidon species. I am very interested in cooking Poseidon species. Jeffu shouted as he looked at Cronus swimming towards the deep sea. I'm afraid Cronus won't hear it and beat the Poseidon into pieces. By then it won't be that easy to cook. Should we chop the meat into small pieces and make dumplings? Cronus did not hear Zeph's words because the seawater hindered the propagation of sound. Cronus felt extremely at ease in the sea. The sea can indeed accommodate everyone. Suddenly, a Poseidon that looked like the king of the sea but was more than 10 times larger than the king of the sea of East China Sea Windmill Village suddenly appeared in front of Cronus. Cronus also saw the Emerald Island that he longed for. The Emerald Island was like a green gem hanging in the center of the sea. The islands are densely covered with green aquatic plants. There is a branch connecting the bottom of the island, which is like a living plant. Is this a tree, similar to Adam? Cronus exclaimed. The pirate world has all kinds of strange plants, such as the mangroves in the Bodhi Islands that can be used for coating, the atom in the deep sea that introduces sunlight to the seabed on Fishman Island, and the reason why the Emerald Island is able to surface every few hundred years. Lifted by a plant. Just when Cronus was sighing at the wonder of the pirate world, the king of offshore suddenly swung his tail and hit Cronus in the face. Cronus will not be careless. If someone like the king of the offshore doesn't pay attention, he might really block a part of his body in the new era. Although I can grow it with high-speed regeneration, if I go out without a few parts, my crew will laugh at me. Cronus was like a loach scurrying back and forth in the seawater, and then he hit the king of the offshore sea with his hands covered with weapons. He beat the king of the near sea to the spot. Cronus wiped his hair, although it had no effect in the sea. But he still wanted to say, I will stand in the sky at this moment. To show my respect for you, the next blow will be a sure kill. Cronus didn't want to learn from Shanks and planned to kill the king of the Golden Sea directly. The weapon-covered hand on his hand struck hard at the heart of the King of the Sea. The beating of the King of the Sea's heart became clearer under the perception of the color. Just like that, the King of the Offshore Sea was completely turned upside down. Cronus was very satisfied with his move. He did not block a part of himself in the new era like Shanks. It seemed that he was still not aware enough. Additional meal. Cronus did not board the Emerald Island immediately, but carried the body of the Offshore King and swam up towards the Brave and the Cook. A huge thing suddenly appeared on the sea surface with force. Jeffu and others had already noticed a shadow coming towards the Brave and the Cook. But the size of the King of the Offshore still shocked them. Although it was not comparable to the giant Poseidons in the Windless Zone, it was still one of the largest in the world. It's not that there are no Poseidons in the Four Seas, it's just that there are fewer of them compared to the Windless Zone and the Grand Line. But in the vast sea area of the Four Seas, there are actually not many Poseidon species scattered here and there. Everyone started to get busy. The King of the Offshore was floating on the sea. They wanted to cut the various parts of the King of the Offshore to make delicious food. Jeffu looked at the King of the Sea that Cronus had thrown up. The whole body was still intact, except that the flesh of the heart was slightly bruised, but luckily it did not affect the bloodletting. Then he used the watermelon knife to pull hard on the neck of the Offshore King, but it was still not thorough enough. It took 3 times before it was over. Tetsuo selected the tenderest pieces of meat from the King of the Sea and planned to make a boiled fish fillet. I also sliced a few tougher parts, planning to use them for barbecue. I didn't miss the fish head either. Although it was a bit big, I still planned to get some of it to steam. With everyone's help, the meal was quickly prepared. Jeffu liked watching everyone fighting for delicious food. People can never live without food in this world. The feeling of being hungry is really uncomfortable. He thought of his childhood again. A kingdom that was not rich could not even afford food. It was also that day that he met a benefactor who made him full. It was the first time in his life that he had eaten so full. That feeling of satisfaction was something he would never forget, and he vowed to ensure that everyone would have enough to eat, no one would go hungry in his place, and they would eat deliciously. Later, under the leadership of a wise king, the kingdom also started to solve the basic problem of food and clothing. From then on, he began to study cooking skills. It was only after hearing the legend of all blue from people around me that I decided to go to sea. He wanted to see the legendary sea area where fish from all over the world gathered. Now following Cronus can be considered as unlocking some Poseidon-like dishes in advance. This feeling is actually pretty good, Zephu. No matter how many times I eat the food you cook, it is still delicious, Cronus praised without hesitation. Tetsuo's combat ability is considered weak among the cadres on the entire ship, but in terms of likability, he is the most popular among all the cadres. Neither Van Oka nor William, nor even himself, are as popular as Jeffu. Food is the most important thing for the people. This is an eternal truth. Jeffu likes to cook, so let him always be happy cooking what he likes. Cronus swore in his heart. What William likes most is the fat on the belly of the fish. The fat on the belly of the King of the Sea is different from ordinary fish, with a fishy smell. Instead, the fish has a light fragrance of grandma and a touch of milk, which reaches the palate. It melted in your mouth after eating it, but as soon as William ate it, he felt that something was wrong. Wait a minute, I think I'm about to escape. After saying that, he hurriedly ran towards the toilet. I forgot to mention it. The meat in the belly of the fish may cause diarrhea because it is too silky. Jeffu suddenly added, showing a sly smile as he spoke. Damn. You old boy ******** me. William cursed, but his hand movements were not slow. He took off his belt and squatted down in one breath. An earth-shattering fart sound resounded throughout heaven. Ha ha ha. Fan Oka was also smiling happily. In terms of relationship, he and William had the best relationship. After all, William had been washing his pants for him for a long time. Chapter 33 Landing on the Island. Cronus dived to the Emerald Island and searched for several days, but did not find the legendary treasure. Although the overall area of Emerald Island is not as large as that of Fishman Island, it is not that kind of dwarf island. Finding it by Kronos alone is still too slow. Cronus also gave up and waited for the Emerald Island to float, and the whole ship went up to search together. Captain, Emerald Island is going to surface today, Van Oka said to Cronus, who was standing aside. According to the floating rules given by Doflamingo, Emerald Island will completely float on a full moon night every 150 years. And tonight is the night of the full moon. Don't be anxious, just take your time and watch. As the moon rises slowly, Emerald Island also begins to slowly rise. During the rise, all the green water plants emit a faint fluorescence. As we get closer and closer to the sea, that sense of shock comes over us. Then fog began to form, and visibility in the waters around Emerald Island began to decrease. Looking at the scene in front of him, Cronus just wanted to say loudly, FK. This is not in line with scientific logic at all. After waiting quietly for half an hour, Emerald Island completely calmed down. I have a hunch that this island is definitely a good place to hide treasures. Maybe the legend of Devil Fruit is true, Cronus said to everyone. This is a subconscious sixth sense, but Cronus thinks it is real. After all, it is such a strange place. If they didn't do anything, I would really be sorry that they had to wait here for a long time. Let's search separately. Everyone should have seen the treasure map. After finding it, everyone will gather near the brave. Cronus stretched his muscles and ordered everyone. Several simplified versions of the treasure map have been drawn. Although it is a bit abstract, it is not difficult to compare the complete rise of Emerald Island with some iconic scenery. Of course, Cronus holds the original chart. After all, as a captain, he always has some privileges. Emerald Island is just like the introduction. The entire island is basically covered by unknown green aquatic plants, and there are strange rocks under the aquatic plants. I don't know how these aquatic plants took root in these stones, but the aquatic plants are extremely tenacious, and as long as they take root, an area will be quickly covered. After Cronus landed on the island, he felt completely different from searching under the sea. There was a faint smell of moisture. Cronus had already explored it many times. While watching his crew exploring the surroundings of Emerald Island, he compared the treasure map in his hand and walked in the direction he thought was correct. William and Cronus were lined up side by side. William thought he couldn't understand the treasure map and his sense of direction was not as good as Van Oka's, so he planned to form a double row with the captain. If found, wouldn't it be that William and Cronus were found together? It's easy for William to go out and brag. The reason why he believes in Cronus so much is because it's not the first time Cronus has landed on the island. It is the first time for others to land on the island, so they will always feel unfamiliar, and the search will be much slower. Moreover, the real authentic treasure map is still in Cronus's hand. Captain, you said it only takes 3 days to surface. Can we find it within 3 days? William said, feeling something eerie around him. The two of them walked forward slowly as if they were strolling. The damp water vapor soaked their clothes. The visibility in the heavy fog was extremely low, giving people a sense of confusion. The water vapor irritates the surrounding skin and makes people extremely awake. I can find it. I have a feeling I can definitely find it, Cronus said with certainty. Of course, I was very worried about whether I could find Cronus, but I couldn't say anything depressing at this time, otherwise the more I looked forward to it, the more it would get. This is a magical law. Cronus and William were walking around like this. Cronus found that his ability seemed to be able to disperse the heavy fog within a few hundred meters around him. A little further away, there seemed to be a force that was in conflict with his own abilities, keeping the fog shrouding his area. Cronus didn't feel uncomfortable, being able to see hundreds of meters was pretty good. Devil fruit is a magical thing, and countless people are flocking to it. The process of searching for devil fruits is also the process of devil fruits searching for people. Just like Vegapunk said, the obsessions in people's hearts create devil fruits. What kind of obsessions there will lead to what kind of devil fruits there are in the world. There is darkness in the human heart, so there is the dark fruit, and there is light, so there is Nika. It is also a very idealistic power. Just as Cronus and William were comparing the treasure map and moving forward, they suddenly discovered an iconic stone pillar. The discovery of this stone pillar means that Deng Lun's treasure is not far away. This discovery made the two of them ecstatic. The stone pillar has experienced the baptism of time, and the cracks on the pillar have been cracked. But it can be seen that the workmanship is excellent, and this may also be left by Deng Lun. Deng Lun was undoubtedly the most popular figure of that era, and his name also made Cronus feel extremely familiar. Speaking of which, most people's names in this world tend to be westernized. But there are also slip fruit characters, such as Ochaku in the Great Pirates, and Deng Lun who is currently exploring. There were several large crabs with teeth and claws next to the stone pillar. They were nearly half a meter in size and rushed towards Cronus and William. Cronus didn't move, and William rushed up and punched him. Covered in armed color, guaranteed to be pain-free. All the crabs were knocked unconscious by Lien. The strength is just right. When the time comes, you can take it up and let Jeffu cook it. William clapped his hands with a simple expression. At this moment Cronus waved to William, and the cave marked on the map appeared in front of them. Inside the cave was the treasure they were longing for. The two of them just continued walking towards the inside of the cave with their heads in the air. That guy Van Oka is still not as good as us, ha ha ha. The further you go inside the cave, the more stalactites appear. The night was dark. Without the moonlight, it was impossible to see anything clearly. A trace of lightning appeared from Cronus' body, and the cave was slightly illuminated. Animal-type fantasy beasts are really comprehensive. Cronus couldn't help but sigh. William also nodded hurriedly. It's better than my UU fruit. In this dark environment, I am blind. Cronus is a bit funny. When did Logia drop in price like this? That's because you haven't developed it well. If you had developed your ability well, how could you have been blinded? Maybe even seeing, hearing and coloring is not as useful as your UU fruit, Cronus said with a smile. William's ears immediately pricked up when he heard it. Most of his fruit development relied on Cronus's small ideas. I don't have that kind of imagination, but it would be enough if I have a good teammate. Boss Kronos, tell me in detail. As long as your UU fruit rains, can you sense the water droplets near it? If you start a light rain and then use your own raindrops to sense it, can you basically see the environment in this area? Crow North thought of Payne's rain tiger free technique and learned from it. That's right. Why didn't I think of that? William patted his brain. Chapter 34 Special Devil Fruits and Devil Fruit Illustrated Books. I don't know what kind of plant Emerald Island is. The floating cave that should be flooded by seawater does not have much seawater at this time. Cronus felt extremely comfortable, but William didn't feel so good. He felt like he couldn't exert any energy. However, they still followed Cronus's footsteps and the two continued to walk forward. The excitement of treasure hunting kept stimulating the two of them. In this way, the two of them reached the end, and a coffin and countless treasures were placed on the ground. Cronus took William and bowed gently to this former great pirate. They can be regarded as being favored by this big pirate. The treasure Kronos here is roughly estimated to be worth billions of Baileys. He is truly a trendsetter of that era. There are many things of immeasurable value, many cultural relics. But most of them are covered with aquatic plants, or broken, and are not worth much. There are only precious metals. Even if it is covered with water weeds, it is still worth a lot of money to remelt the chain and sell it as gold. Get rich, get rich. William laughed looking at the treasures all over the floor. Then the two began to search carefully. The treasure can be moved slowly when everyone gathers together later. The search for devil fruits is urgent. The two of them searched here and there for a long time but didn't see any devil fruit. Brother Cronus, can that legend be false? Deng Lun actually doesn't have any devil fruits in his collection. Logically speaking, if there are devil fruits, who wouldn't eat them directly? Even if I am a person with abilities and cannot eat it, I will still give it to my capable subordinates. Cronus frowned. Although William was not usually very smart, his speculation was not unreasonable. Where did we miss it? Coffin. Open the coffin. Cronus suddenly thought of his blind spot. The surrounding area has been searched by them, and the inside of the cave is relatively closed. Although there is a suspicion that the devil fruit may have drifted out of the cave, it is generally not a big deal. The last place that was missed was Deng Lun's coffin. It seemed that even if he died, the lid of the coffin would still be lifted. If Deng Lun knew, he would jump out of the coffin and beat them both severely. However, what was expected did not happen. Cronus opened the lid of the entire coffin, and there was only a corpse inside the coffin. There are also two devil fruits. One is yellow and looks like poop, and the other is almost transparent and looks like a pile of small triangles. Devil fruit. It seems this legend is true, Cronus shouted. There are various legends circulating in the sea, half true and half false. Some people still think that Sky Island is made up by people, but Sky Island does exist. And Deng Lun's treasures are also being circulated in a small area. It seems that one of the Logias is also real, but I don't know which one it is. Cronus picked up two devil fruits and looked at them. One of them looked more and more wrong. William turned over Deng Lun's skull. There seemed to be a book under the skull. William picked it up and flipped through it. Brother Cronus, there seems to be some kind of illustrated book here. There are many devil fruit shapes on it. William picked up the book and gestured to Cronus. Cronus felt that the yellow devil fruit looked like a very disgusting thing. Poop? Do devil fruits also have this kind of bad taste? Before he could even think about taking over the illustrated book from William's hand, 6 large characters, Devil Fruit Illustrated Book, were clearly written on the entire illustrated book. William really found a treasure. He didn't pay attention and almost missed an important resource. Devil Fruit Illustrated Book. Basically, some powerful forces in the sea will have one, but the number of devil fruits recorded in it varies. The ones with the most records are undoubtedly the devil fruit encyclopedias in the hands of the world government and marine. Most of the ones in the hands of the pirates are damaged and only part of them are recorded, but even these are what they worked hard to collect. Many countries in the Grand Line also have their own devil fruit illustrated books, but the records may not be as many as those in the hands of pirates. In the past 800 years of the world government, all the devil fruit types that have appeared have been basically recorded. This is the benefit of being a big force. There is an endless inheritance, however. Having inheritance does not mean that you will definitely get it. The rebirth of devil fruit is random. Except that Teach can use the dark fruit to choose satisfactory fruits for his subordinates. Even Marine can't make the devil fruit reborn in the Marine camp. I don't know how Teach discovered this characteristic of the dark fruit. The discovery of the Devil Fruit Illustrated Book will greatly enhance the background of the Kronos Pirates, so that they will not be blind when encountering devil fruits in the future. At least they will have a reference. Cronus looked through it and found that Paramecia was undoubtedly the one with the largest number of records, followed slightly by the Animal Department, followed by Logia. There are also many people Cronus knows, such as hot fruits, spring fruits, and shackle fruits. The paper of the Devil Fruit Illustrated Book is obviously unusual. It feels like plastic. It seems to be a special kind of paper. Otherwise, after 300 years, the words recorded in it would not be clear. Finally, I successfully found the transparent devil fruit with many small triangles in the Devil Fruit Illustrated Book. This storage fruit creates a small space inside your body after you eat it. You can continuously develop your own small space through exercise. It is regarded as an auxiliary devil fruit. But one of the biggest features is that the items stored in the storage space of the storage fruit ability user will not have any passage of time in the storage space. Cronus couldn't help but think of Tetsuo after seeing it. It seems that this is really a devil fruit suitable for cooks. In the future, when sailing on the sea, as long as the chef develops it well, a chef will be a food warehouse. It's still extremely fresh. You don't have to go to nearby islands for supplies from time to time, which can greatly improve the sailing speed and the quality of life on the ship. He carefully collected the storage fruit and continued to look through the Devil Fruit Illustrated Book. Finally, I successfully found the poop-like devil fruit in the devil fruit illustrated book. There is a special devil fruit clearly written on it, and there are still different meanings as to whether it should be classified as logia or paramecia. Dung fruit. After Cronus saw these words, he instantly felt that the devil fruit in his hand was a little hot, and pushed the dung fruit into William's arms. The reason why the dung fruit is not defined is that if it is changed to paramecia, it has the ability to be elementalized into logia. If it is classified as logia, there is no pure natural stool in nature. After all, it is produced by humans and various living creatures. In addition to elementalization, the surroundings can also be quickly assimilated into feces by themselves through contact with themselves. The more Cronus looked at it, the more he felt that this devil fruit was similar to Magellan's poison fruit. It's just that one kills the enemy with poison, and the other disgusts the enemy with feces. After Cronus found the information about the two devil fruits, he took William and the two back to the Brave and waited for Vanoka and others for a while. The people of the Kronos Pirates worked together and completely emptied Dengloon's treasure. It's another day to get rich, Chapter 35 Savor Jefu. Aboard the Brave, the Kronos Pirates are distributing two devil fruits. Zeph, do you want to choose to eat the storage fruit or the dung fruit? Cronus asked Zeph. Although Tetsuo's chef pirates joined late, everyone saw what Tetsuo did. Although he also has a large number of helpers on the ship, as the chef, he is responsible for the meals for such a large ship. In terms of contribution and strength, he is enough to choose a devil fruit. Although Jefu is only a cook, his kicking skills are quite good. He is also practicing his weapon skills and knowledge skills. If he learns his skills, his strength will be qualitatively improved. Jefu was also lost in thought. He also roughly knew the functions and abilities of the two devil fruits. Although the storage fruit is good and will be of great help to your career as a chef, the dung fruit with similar abilities to logia has a very high upper limit. I was tangled in my heart, thinking that I was not the material to become a first-rate powerhouse. I choose the storage fruit. I am really only suitable to be a cook. After Jefu finished speaking, he slumped down. As for who doesn't have the idea of becoming the strongest, he has been hanging out with Cronus and others for a long time, and he is not that unfamiliar with logia. Cronus's animal-type fantasy beast is of course the best, and William's logia is also good. Do you have any regrets in your heart? It seemed a little bit, but after choosing it, I felt completely relaxed. Zeph, all people have meaning, and chefs also have meaning as chefs. It's not just the fighting devil fruits that can reach the top. Cronus also saw the disappointment in Zeph's eyes. Although the dung fruit has various side effects, for example, after eating it, the whole body will emit a strong smell. This is the characteristic of the logia devil fruit. After eating Kuzan's frozen fruit, his whole body becomes cold. On the contrary, Sakaski said it was unclear whether Perusolino's laziness was related to the side effects of the devil fruit. But how can laziness be related to guanguang fruit? Is this really a big problem? You should know about the shock fruit. It's a devil fruit eaten by Whitebeard, the strongest man in the world. The reason why the shock fruit has the most destructive power is because the man who ate this devil fruit is Whitebeard. The upper limit of the earthquake fruit is very high, but is it because of the earthquake fruit that you become the strongest? Obviously there are some factors, but the most important thing is because the man who eats the Junjen fruit is called Whitebeard. After eating the storage fruit, it might as well form a prison. Anyone you pull into the storage space will be imprisoned by you until they die as long as they cannot break your space. Why are devil fruits with space attributes not weak? There must be a reason why it was collected by Dengloon, the great pirate 300 years ago. Dengloon brought the dung fruit and the storage fruit into his coffin side by side. It can be seen that he put the two fruits side by side. The fruit with space, the gate fruit, is also a fruit with a very high upper limit, but it was only developed in a very average way in the original work. Ha ha ha. I'm quite open to this, it's just that development is more difficult, I just need to work harder, Jefu said with a smile. It was obvious that he had recovered from his recent depression. Cronus and others began to help Jefu to check that after eating the devil fruit, he would lose control of his power. Cronus, William and Vanoka have both experienced this process. The animal system will turn into animals unfreely, logia will unconsciously release its power, and paramecia will lose control of the body. Luffy couldn't control his body just after eating the rubber fruit. All devil fruits have different types and properties, so they will have similar side effects after eating them. Jefu knew that devil fruit was unpalatable, but he didn't know it was so unpalatable. He should cook the devil fruit before eating it. Jefu still endured his nausea and swallowed the devil fruit completely. This was an old tradition and he had heard William and Vanoka deceive him that only by eating the devil fruit completely could he gain the most complete power. Kronos, Vanoka, William and other crew members on the Kronos Pirates began to laugh. Every time they saw a newcomer eating a devil fruit, it was a new experience. Jefu felt that all his strength had been drained out, but a small space of several square meters seemed to appear in his right arm. Jefu slumped down for a while to regain his strength, and then ran to the kitchen excitedly, boasting about the fresh fruits and vegetables. I can feel the slow passage of time in my space, but the space is a bit small now, Jefu suddenly said to everyone. After listening to Zefu's words, William patted his chest. It's all here, it needs to be developed slowly, but in the future, physical exercise must not be left behind. No matter how powerful the ability is, it needs a strong body to support it. Jeffu nodded after listening to William's words, saying that his progress was a bit slow, and now he couldn't even do the initial entanglement of the armed color. Cronus pulled William away. How do you feel, Zeph? Jeffu moved his body. Aside from some loss of strength, it doesn't seem to have any powerful side effects. That's good. Your future exercise can be added to your cooking process, so that your training will not be delayed and your cooking skills will not decline, Cronus suggested to Jeffu. It was a wise suggestion for William to ask Jeffu to exercise more, but Jeffu still has his own job as a chef, but a chef can also exercise while cooking. Knowledge is everywhere in life. Who said you can't practice knife skills by chopping vegetables? As long as you are willing to think about it, there will always be a way to find a suitable training method. Jeffu listened to Cronus's suggestion and fell into deep thought. Cronus can always come up with such weird ideas, but what he comes up with always makes people's eyes brighter. Jeffu was also thinking about whether he should get a chef's fist or a chef's knife technique. But he quickly shook his head. His hands were used for cooking. How could he practice such a thing? There's something to be said for doing a chef's kick. Fan Oka patted Jeffu, who was meditating. Jeffu, do you want to try your new ability against me? Van Oka also wants to know how a person with space abilities like Tetsuo fights. After all, there are all kinds of weird devil fruits in the pirate world, and there is no harm in learning more about them. Okay, I also want to try my abilities, Jeffu readily agreed. He knew that he was no match for Van Oka, but this was just an internal discussion. If he didn't even dare to do this, why would he go to sea and become a pirate? When Zeph used his ability, there was a slight tearing feeling. It must be that the space in his body was not enough to accommodate me, so he did not pull me into his space. Van Oka carefully analyzed Zeph's fruit ability. Jeffu nodded. The space in my body is still too small now, and I really can't pull a creature that exceeds the size of the space in during a fight. Jeffu has his own ideas. When he expands the space and exercises deeper, his prison tactics may really take shape. There is no doubt that Kronos' idea can be successful. Pervert, if you had to take the initiative to go in, wouldn't you be able to get out for the rest of your life? William called him pervert from the side. Jeffu shook his head. It takes physical strength to maintain the space in my body. As long as the people I pull in continue to cause harm in my space, when I lose my strength, the space will completely collapse, and the people I pull in will collapse completely. It will also come out of the disappearing space. All devil fruits have shortcomings and cannot be invincible. Creating Tetsuo's storage space requires him to consume a lot of physical energy, but the subsequent maintenance does not require much physical strength. But this is only limited to the fact that the space within the body is relatively stable. If someone repeatedly uses a force in the space within his body that the space cannot bear, he will disappear if he cannot repair it. There is no invincible devil fruit. The power of the devil fruit has a lot to do with the person with the ability. Come on, Tetsuo, Cronus encouraged from the side. Logia also has the shame of Logia. In Paramecia, there is also Doflamingo who plays with the fruits of the thread. After all, devil fruits only help you climb to a higher level, your own strength is the most important. Yes, in the words of Boss Cronus, only domineering power can surpass everything. Fan Oka also nodded seriously. Chapter 36 The Capital of Seven Waters. The city of Seven Waters is an extremely famous island in the first half of the Grand Route, famous for its tourism and shipbuilding technology. The city of Seven Waters is known as the Water City. It has a unique tourist scenery and attracts countless people to come for sightseeing. At the same time, the Seven Waters capital also has many of the world's top shipyards, and countless pirate ships came from the shipyards of the Seven Waters capital. The city of Seven Waters even takes over the shipbuilding business within Marine headquarters and world government. After all, the ships built by Marine headquarters and world government are not as high quality and cheap as those in the city of Seven Waters. World government has thoroughly brought the essence of making to the extreme that buying is worse than making. The capital of the Seven Waters is also a node that many pirates must pass through on the Great Route. After all, most pirates want to challenge the New World, but challenging the New World requires a good ship. If you come to the Seven Waters City, there will always be a ship suitable for you if the price is right. When Cronus and others returned to the Grand Line from North Blue, they originally planned to go to Gaia Island to take a ride on the soaring sea current to Sky Island to experience the alternative customs. However, I found out that it had not been long since the soaring current erupted, and the next soaring current would still be at least 5 months away. They didn't have time to stay on Gaia Island for 5 months. Every time they thought of Cronus, they would sigh inwardly. Luffy is really unlucky, as if everything is waiting for him. Cronus and others decided to continue setting off to build a new ship in the capital of Seven Waters. After all, there are many more pirate groups now than at the beginning, and the Brave and the Cook are still behind. On the way to the capital of Seven Waters, I also had a series of encounters with Long Lai. After Cronus transformed into Wu Ji Chi Hang Kai and slipped away carrying the Brave and the Cook, Long could only bear all the bitterness helplessly. At this time, Long also learned about the special features of Kronos Devil Fruit. This is an unusual guy who can freely release the fruit's power in seawater. The conclusion of seawater restraint ability completely failed on him. This conclusion shocked him. Cronus would always constantly refresh his lower limit of shock. Cronus and others successfully landed in the capital of Seven Waters under the guidance of the Permanent Pointer. The Permanent Pointer was also borrowed from fellow pirates based on their old skills. It has to be said that the pirates in the same industry are really capable. They have the Permanent Pointer of the Seven Waters capital that they don't have. I can only borrow it from them in a polite and courteous manner. As for when to return it, we'll tell you next time we meet. Cronus and others hid their identities at this time. One of them got a black coat and covered his head. As long as you don't pay close attention, you really can't recognize them at the first time. The residents of the Seven Waters capital did not pay too much attention. After all, there were many people coming and going from the Seven Waters capital every day, and many of them were wanted criminals with high bounties on their heads. There are quite a few people wearing black coats with hoods to hide their identities, so there is nothing surprising about them. Besides, most people come to the capital of Seven Waters just to build ships. It can also be regarded as a disguised way to boost the economy of the Seven Waters capital. As long as the residents of the Seven Waters capital do not encounter extortion, murder, or other things that threaten their own safety, most residents will not take the initiative to report it. Cronus and others found a restaurant and asked for a private room. They were reading the newspaper they had just bought from Newsbird. Of course, the specialty of the city of Seven Waters, the squid, is also indispensable on the table. After Jeffu saw the squid, he also went to the market to collect some. He also asked the chefs in the restaurant how to make the squid to make it more delicious. The chefs in the restaurant thought that Jeffu was here to steal his skills, and they didn't give him a good look at first. After Jeffu showed them a few times, they realized that they had met a real boss. He also politely taught Jeffu how to make meatballs, and Jeffu personally taught their cooking skills as a thank you. After Jeffu developed his abilities for a period of time, the space in his body tripled, and it was no problem to hold 2 or 3 people as a small prison. It's easy to decorate with meat and vegetables. The new world is really lively. Golden Lion, Whitebeard, Charlotte Linlin, Kaido, and even Marine are all involved. It's really a mess. Cronus saw that the new world was like a powder keg on the news. Fighting in chaos, I can't help but sigh. Soon we will enter the new world, and then we can fight these big pirates on the sea. William looked excited. Kaido and Charlotte Linlin did gain a lot from this battle in New World. Charlotte Linlin has acquired a lot of territory and plans to establish Wangguo soon. Now she has started to promote it in New World. The Golden Lion suffered a big loss and planned to fight back, but seemed to get some news. Instead of continuing to tangle with Charlotte Linlin and Kaido, he used the ability of the Piao Piao fruit to rush towards South Blue with part of his air fleet. New World. It's such a desirable place. Fanoka wiped his monocle. Don't worry, after we build the new ship, we will head to the Sabodi Islands. After coating there, we will enter the new world. It's time to announce our existence to the world. Cronus continued after eating 2 pieces of water and meat, said. By the way, have you heard about any shipbuilders with superb shipbuilding skills? Cronus asked everyone. After all, when they first boarded the Seven Waters capital and went their separate ways, they had agreed to inquire about any powerful shipbuilders in the Seven Waters capital. Cronus was unlucky and didn't get any useful information. However, Cronus, a powerful shipbuilder, knew a Master Tom from the Fishmen tribe, who was the great shipbuilder who built the Oro Jackson for Roger. But Cronus didn't think that only one Fishman Tom could defeat the Seven Waters. Being a Fishman Master Tom does have physical advantages. Becoming a great shipwright through your own efforts deserves respect. But are there no other great shipwrights? Obviously it's impossible. The sea is huge, and there are many ships that can rival the Roger Oro Jackson. I found out about a few shipwrights, but I don't know which one to choose. Fanoka said the information gathered from other members while eating meat. Tell me. Cronus wiped his mouth, picked up the drink next to him and took a sip. After Fanoka finished swallowing the food in his mouth, one is Master Tom of the Fishmen tribe. It is said that Roger's Oro Jackson was built by him. Cronus nodded after listening to Vanoka's words. Master Tom is indeed a great shipbuilder. If he can find it, it is not impossible to ask Master Tom to build it. It is said that Master Tom also has Pluton drawings. If I have the chance, I would really like it. But if Cross wanted to grab it, he still couldn't do it. Although he is not a good person, most of the people he takes the initiative to rob are villains who have a few lives on their hands. Taking the initiative to attack ordinary people, Cronus, as a person with normal views, could not do it. Master Tom is the top figure in designing sea trains in the future. If sea trains become popular, it will undoubtedly make it easier for people in the pirate world to communicate. This is a great invention, and Master Tom is also a great shipbuilder who deserves respect. What's more, it can't be just Master Tom, right? Cronus saw Vanoka and didn't speak for a long time. Vanoka shook his head and signaled to William. There is also an old man named Robert. Half of his body is almost buried, but his shipbuilding skills are nothing to mention. I heard that he is still a user with the molten fruit ability, but this old guy is only good at building some steel ships, and is not good at making wooden ships like sails. Cronus' eyes lit up when he heard William's words. Although most of the ships in the pirate world are made of wood, he still prefers giant steel ships in his heart. This old man, Robert, is particularly in line with his appetite. Molten fruit users will undoubtedly have a huge auxiliary effect on the connection of steel materials on ships. And to be called a great shipwright like Master Tom, He must have some real skills in his hands. Okay. We decided to find this old man named Robert to help us build a giant steel ship. Cronus slammed the table to make a decision. Chapter 37 Dragon also comes to the capital of Seven Waters. After the dragon chased Cronus away on the sea, he inquired about Cronus on the way and planned to find a place to rest. By coincidence, we also arrived at the capital of Seven Waters. I planned to replenish the supplies on the warship in the capital of Seven Waters. I chose a restaurant and started eating and drinking in the lobby. By coincidence, this was exactly where Cronus and the others were eating. Commander Long, is it really okay for us to just drift around in the sea like this? Can we really catch Cronus? Long's adjutant asked, watching Long sit down and eat and drink. Why are you thinking so much? You have seen what Cronus is capable of. Devil fruit users who are not afraid of seawater are not easy to catch. The dragon continued to swallow the water and meat in his mouth. He has deeply understood the little tricks Garp taught him to catch people. Whether or not he catches people is not important. As long as you have enough waves on the sea, that's enough. Through his journey, he can also see for himself what kind of life the people on the sea live, and what does marine mean to them. In the past, most of the time it was just to complete the purpose mechanically, and going to sea was to catch thieves. As for most of the world government-affiliated countries that can afford to hire marines, Long only gets along with their nobles more and has too little communication with the real people at the bottom. If this is the case for countries that are members of the world government, what will happen to countries that are not members of the world government? Commander Long, Brigadier General Guion will arrive at the capital of Seven Waters soon, Long's adjutant said suddenly. Long, who was in a good mood, heard the adjutant's words and asked quickly, why is that guy from Guion here? Brigadier General Guion has completed his mission in North Blue and is preparing to return to Marine headquarters for supplies in the capital of the Seven Seas. I heard you were here, so I planned to come over to get together. Ryu recalled the scene of being teased by Guion. Guion dared to call his own father, Little Garp. So teasing him was not a matter of course. No matter how awesome you are, you can be as awesome as your dad. To be honest, as an old Marine, Guion and Kaki have a very good relationship, but the last thing he wants to see is Guion. Do you want to meet up with Brigadier General Guion? The adjutant took out his notebook and prepared to record Long's decision. Let's meet her. Speaking of which, I haven't seen her for a long time. Long waved his hand helplessly. After Cronus and others had eaten and drank enough, they put on their black hijab cloaks, paid their bills and walked out. There were many people coming in and out of the tavern, and Long suddenly felt a familiar feeling and looked at Cronus's back. Why is it so familiar? Could it be that being played by Cronus has left behind some sequelae? Long covered his head. It seemed like he should find a place to rest. Chasing Cronus made him exhausted, and meeting Guion soon might make him exhausted again. His relationship with Guion is a bit delicate, and he doesn't know what to say when he sees Guion. Garp and Chief Advisor Ahe once brought them together, but the two have disliked each other since they were children. Also because of their matchmaking, the current relationship between the two seems a bit awkward. While the dragon was eating silently, Cronus glanced sideways and saw the dragon. A smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. It seemed that he was really a haunted guy. Cronus did not intend to attract the dragon's attention, otherwise his plan to build a ship here might be ruined. Are the guys at Marine headquarters all just idle Ronin? Garp chases Roger around all day long when there is nothing to do. Dragon chases us around all day long when there is nothing to do. Fan Oka also discovered Long and said in a low voice after going out, said to everyone. Maybe this is the correct way for the monkey family to get along with pirates. Ha ha ha. Cronus laughed at the side. I seem to hear them talking about Guion, Marine who had a close relationship with Captain Cronus in the Maldives. William looked at Cronus with a wicked smile. At this time, Jeffu came over and hooked up with William. Speaking of which, the captain really has an inexplicable relationship with Marine. Don't talk nonsense. Marine is a soldier and I am a thief. How can we have a strange relationship? If the dragon catches me, I can't run away. That incident in Guion was even more of an accident. Don't spread rumors, otherwise I will sue you. Slander, you are slandering me. Cronus quickly stopped their nonsense. Hey. Everyone had expressions of disbelief. Marine is here, and the Seven Waters capital is a bit dangerous. The next step is to find a place to live in the Seven Waters capital, and then build a new ship after Marine leaves, Fan Oka said. Cronus was also thinking at this time. Both Dragon and Guion were there. The two of them working together might not be able to survive on their own, but with their own crew members, it wouldn't be a big problem if they really escaped. Looks like I need to find a place to lie down, but you are so depressed that you dare not speak out, and why do you feel so depressed? In the confrontation between him and the two of them, he obviously had the upper hand, but Marine's ability to move people was too strong. If we are really held back, it would be much faster for the Marine headquarters to support the first half of the Grand Line than to support the Four Seas. Forget it. Building the ship can be postponed, but we must first contact Mr. Robert and order a giant steel ship from him. Now we can also do some preliminary preparations. Cronus thought about it carefully and said. Then, without any further delay, everyone headed towards the shipyard company founded by Mr. Robert. Robert's shipyard was still the top shipyard in the Seven Waters capital for the past 20 years. However, because Robert is older, the orders from the shipyard are not as frequent as before. The reputation gradually began to rise from other shipyards. This era is like this. If you don't succeed, someone will. Time can erase everything. The location of Robert's shipyard is a bit remote, but at first glance it has an atmospheric feel. It is not far from the seaside, and the construction of the hull can also be concentrated at sea. After seeing it, Cronus felt that this was what a serious shipyard should look like. The location where Master Tom is located is full of rags, and is also known as the dirtiest and messiest place in the capital of Seven Waters. Although there were still two great shipwrights, Tom and Frankie, that was only because their talents were high enough. Shipbuilding is still a precise job, so the surrounding environment can't be wrong if it's clean and strict. The security guards of Robert's shipyard stopped everyone and only let them go when they heard that they were coming to see Director Robert to place orders. However, he also kindly reminded everyone that Factory Director Robert was old and would not easily take orders. He only let the apprentices under him take action. However, there is a big gap between the boats built by Robert, the factory director, and those built by his apprentices. Robert can be said to be extremely talented, but he is really not good at recruiting and leading apprentices. This is just the security guard chatting with them and bragging. Chapter 38 Supernova Moria. Build a ship. Shipbuilding. Master Robert. You don't eat steak, then what do you eat? Shipbuilding. You like to eat water and meat, and so do I. Oh, it's useless. Cronus met Uncle Robert as he wished, but as expected, Uncle Robert was a little deaf. I don't know if it was because he was old or something, but the two of them didn't talk the same day. After a long period of communication, Captain Robert finally understood that they were here to build a ship, and they had to build it himself. We have to wait in line, young man. Director Robert was finally willing to put on his specially customized hearing aid. Q. No way. Is there anyone else in line in front of us? Cronus looked unbelieving. In order to ask Factory Director Robert to personally take action and build a large steel ship for them. They took out all of Deng Lun's treasures and what they got from other pirates along the way. Robert reluctantly agreed to build it for them. Yes, young man. There is a young man named Moria in front of you. I heard he is also a pirate, Uncle Robert said with a smile. Of course, Moria Kronos has heard of it. There is no one in the future Kiwuhai. Laozi got a super patch after he was defeated by Luffy and entered the advancement layer. And this guy Mariah Oda just couldn't bear to patch him. However, Moria has not yet been defeated by Kaido at this time. It is said that he was a bold hero when he first went to sea. His strength and character were good and he was not destroyed by Kaido. I heard that he is an excellent pirate captain who is extremely responsible for his men. Uncle Robert, aren't you afraid of us pirates? We are extremely vicious, Cronus teased the uncle. Unexpectedly, Uncle Robert nodded and then shook his head. If you don't follow the rules in the Seven Rivers, you will never get the boat you want. Besides, your uncle, I also know some fists and kicks. After finishing speaking, a faint armed domineering look appeared on his hands. Cronus just wanted to say, damn it, this sea is really a crouching tiger, hidden dragon. Can you believe that an old man from a shipyard actually knows how to use weapons? In the first half of the Grand Line, combined with his devil fruit molten fruit, ordinary little pirates really can't get close to him. Moria returned from foraging for food at this time, and was about to bargain with Uncle Robert, intending to lower the shipbuilding fee even further. Otherwise, when he goes to sea this time, he will be completely drained by Robert. Pushing open Uncle Robert's door, Cronus and the others stood straight and looked at Moria. Moonlight Moria, the vicious criminal Cronus. Moria was shocked. How could he meet his colleagues even though he was building a ship? He was also a very vicious colleague. Cronus looked at the slender and strong Moria in front of him. At this time, Moria's physical training has not fallen behind. His whole person does not look like a bloated person from later generations, and he gives people a strong demeanor at first glance. I didn't expect to meet this generation of pirate supernova Moonlight Moria here. I'm really lucky. Cronus took the initiative to greet Moria. Moria looked at Cronus carefully, and it seemed that he was not as vicious as the newspapers said. Is the world government just doing some tricks? But considering that the Dracos were killed, it is reasonable for the world government to portray Cronus as a criminal who does all kinds of evil. Compared with you, a pirate supernova with a bounty of 200 million belly, how can I, a little pirate with 110 million belly, qualify to be called a supernova? Besides, William, the reckless man next to you, is also a supernova in this class. Compared with you, I am far behind. Moria also replied with a smile. It seems that Cronus is indeed not as vicious as portrayed in the news. Pirate supernova is not as popular as Luffy's at this time. After all, there is no such thing as Roger's sentence. Want treasure? I put everything there. Those with strength may not necessarily choose to be a pirate. They may choose to be a gang boss, or join the Marines and join world government. Moreover, the bounty at this time has not yet expanded. There are very few pirates who can reach a bounty of 100 million belly within a year of going to sea. But there are some exceptions for Kronos and his team this time. Doflamingo is not included because he has not received a bounty. Moria, Crocodile, Mahawk, Bullet, and William are their supernovas this time. Of course, most of them have not yet arrived at the Saboti Islands and are still scattered across the sea. Are you planning to build a ship to go to the New World? Cronus asked carelessly. I heard that New World is very popular. I have long wanted to join in and take part in it. Why don't you have the same idea when it comes to building ships? Moria asked in return. Ha 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 ha. How did you choose your opponent? Cronus asked. Although we know that the opponent Moria intends to challenge is Kaido, but it must have happened after Roger was arrested. I don't know yet. I just plan to go to New World first to familiarize myself with the familiar environment. Moria also laughed, and then took out the drinks he had just packed from the restaurant from his arms. We are destined to meet each other. Would you like to come and have a drink? Moria invited. While chatting with Moria, Cronus finalized a manufacturing agreement with Uncle Robert on the steel giant sword. He took out part of the gold he had brought with him from Zafu's storage space as a deposit. You robbed a vault. How could you carry so much gold with you? Moria looked at the deposit paid by Cronus with envy. Ha ha ha. There is a small harvest in North Blue. Have you heard of Denglun's treasure? Cronus asked Moria. After listening to Cronus' words, Moria understood that Cronus should have emptied Denglun's treasure. Denglun's treasure was not only known to everyone on the sea, but it was still relatively famous. Denglun has robbed many pirates in the past, and even some marine branches have not escaped his clutches. It is normal to have such a gold reserve. You are really amazing, you can even find such a treasure. Moria was envious. After all, compared to the steel giant custom made by Cronus and the others, what he customized can only be regarded as a smaller version. This was only possible after you worked so hard to hunt for treasures at sea and search with other pirates. It is really infuriating that people are so different from each other. By the way, when we went out to eat, we heard that Dragon, the son of marine hero Garp, appeared in the capital of Seven Waters. Speaking of which, you and Dragon are old enemies. Moria then reminded him of the news he had found out outside. That guy Long is just like his father. He just likes to push others behind their backs and is always clingy. Cronus looked helpless. Ha 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 ha. It's a good thing that I didn't send General Marine to hunt you down. After all, you killed 2 Draconians in one go. Moria laughed knowingly after hearing Cronus's words. Chapter 39 Cronus Invitation. The two started chatting while drinking. Cronus felt that he got along very well with Moria, so he invited Moria. Moria, are you interested in joining us? Moria was stunned for a moment. To be honest, when they first met, Moria thought he would be a very difficult guy to get along with. But after chatting and getting along with him, I found out that he is also a good man. There is also an attraction to him, but now he has his own journey. As for the trouble of killing the celestial dragons, Moria didn't take it seriously. General Marine is not that scary. If there is a chance, he would really like to challenge him now. Of course, all this is because he has never been severely beaten and is just thinking about himself. Moria has had a smooth journey since going to sea. She has become accustomed to fighting against the wind, and she can always escape easily when Marine is chasing her. Moria shook his head. No, although we can indeed chat, I still have to refuse. I also have my own partners, and they want to watch me climb to the top step by step. There is no doubt about Moria's personality charm at this time, and every one of his crew members is willing to die for him. Now Moria undoubtedly wants to climb the peak himself. Although Cronus had regrets when he heard this, he still waved his hand generously. That's really a pity, but don't miss my wine when you meet on the sea in the future. Ha ha ha. Of course. Moria picked up the wine in the glass and drank it with Cronus. You can find Denglun's treasures. Have you ever gone to the Sky Island to see the Sky Island before you go to the capital of Seven Waters? I don't know if the Sky Island is real. Moria, slightly drunk, blew towards Cronus. The cow comes. Is it an empty island? I haven't been there yet, but I do believe that the empty island is real. Do you believe it? Cronus and Moria looked at each other. Calm down. Something so counterintuitive doesn't exist in my first impression. However, I have seen too many unreasonable things since I went to sea, and now I believe that empty islands exist. Moria looked at Cronus's passionate eyes towards her. Although he knew that Cronus wanted to invite him, he still quickly looked away. The look between the two of them is not about fighting, but about telling a different story, the kind that won't pass the trial. Moria felt that her sexual orientation was normal, but she still shuddered unconsciously. Along the way, Moria has seen the upside-down mountain, the weather that changes at every turn along the Grand Line, the windless zone where there is no wind in all seasons, and the ability of the shadow fruit that he possesses. All of this proves the magic of this sea, and it is possible for empty islands to exist. The two of them talked about their dreams and what they saw and heard. William, Van Oka, Zeph, and some of Moria's crew members also participated. At this moment, a cadre under Moria suddenly ran in. Captain Moria, our whereabouts were discovered by Marine. They will be chasing us soon. Should we avoid it first? Moria looked a little embarrassed at this time. Speaking of which, Marine was caused by his subordinates. Moria's cadres also noticed Cronus at this time, but before he could speak, Moria spoke. Then there is no need to delay, so let's run away first. Anyway, we've given you the deposit, and we'll just wait for Director Robert to slowly build it up for us. Cronus also wanted to see who was in the Marines chasing Moria at this time, so he asked, who among the Marines are there? They can make our supernova pirates escape hastily. The cadres under Moria said angrily. Speaking of which, this matter has something to do with your Kronos Pirates. The ones chasing us are Ryu and Guion from Marine headquarters. Cronus was a little embarrassed when he heard this. Isn't this the dragon that has been chasing him? Why did the people who met Moria now start fighting with their people? Let's run away quickly, otherwise, it won't be good to be blocked by these two guys, Cronus also said to the people next to him. Being a pirate and being chased by a marine is not a shameful thing. No matter how good you are as a pirate, you still have to run sometimes when faced with the behemoth marine. Cronus and Moria are both experts at this. The two people hurriedly told Captain Robert to purchase some of the required materials first. Wait until they slip out of marine and come over to monitor the progress while settling other progress payments. The pirate ship Cronus wants to build is a giant steel ship that can accommodate 1,000 people at a time. If it is paid in one lump sum, he is also afraid that Robert will get the money and run away. Just as Cronus was leading everyone to run away, he saw a large group of marines charging towards them menacingly. Marine, who is extremely young is also mixed with a group of female soldiers, and those female soldiers are undoubtedly Guion soldiers. The leader is none other than Ryu Guion. There were even many CP agents standing next to the two of them, and it was obvious that they had obtained some information. Cronus felt bad inside. He was familiar with those CP agents, but it was the first time he saw the leading blonde woman. He rubbed his eyes and took a closer look. Isn't this the second generation of the vampire fruit, Stussy? Stussy is very troubled. She has a small task recently, which is also the most important part of her becoming a full-time employee. Stussy is an agent who joined CP in the past 2 years as a clone of Miss Bajan. Her strength is outstanding, and she quickly got into CP0 and became a trainee cadre of CP0. As a trainee cadre, she was dispatched to cooperate with the dragon in capturing the draconian killer Cronus. This was a murderer who dared to kill the draconian in the street. Stussy's identity as a clone is not clear to anyone, but he is undoubtedly successful as a spy. But Cronus knows it, and Stussy can't underestimate it. As a clone of Miss Bajan is a crew member of the Cronos Pirates. Although he is a scientist, his own strength must not be underestimated. When Stussy arrived at the capital of Seven Waters, she originally just wanted to take a rest, travel by the way, and share information with the dragon. Although CP and Marine are enemies of each other, there are times when they cooperate with each other. Unexpectedly, I got information from the dragon and discovered that Cronus was in the capital of Seven Waters. Speaking of which, it was Guion's credit for discovering Cronus in the capital of the Seven Waters. When Guion was about to make supplies, he suddenly spotted the Kronos Pirates cook. She did not pursue him but just kept it secretly in her mind. After meeting the dragon at the restaurant, the two people who were still awkward at first hit it off after talking about Cronus. The awkward atmosphere disappeared as soon as Kronos and the others united, and Ryu and Guion felt at this moment that each other was doing a good job. Guion is here to avenge himself for taking a bath in the hot springs, and Ryu is here to complete his mission. Most of the pirates who came to the Seven Waters city came to build new ships. The two speculated that Cronus might be no exception. By the way, I speculated that the ships that pirates like Cronus want to build are undoubtedly top-notch ones. They have basically searched all the top shipwrights in the capital of Seven Waters. Robert the shipwright. This is the last place. Who knows that we can still see the leaders of the Moria pirates with bounties on their backs halfway? Taking advantage of the situation, I plan to serve them all here. Speaking of which, Moria still suffered from Cronus. These people were all attracted by Cronus. Chapter 40 Moria. Let's run away while Marine isn't paying attention. Cronus is indeed you. The dragon saw Cronus at a glance, and he was worthy of being so skillful in escaping. While shouting and exerting force, the whole person rose into the air and rushed towards Cronus' position. Dragon. We meet again. Seeing that the dragon was staring at him, Cronus had to turn around and say hello. Damn Cronus, you only noticed the dragon, but not me. Guion gritted his teeth at the side. Maybe this is the anger of a woman being ignored. He didn't talk to Cronus about the morality of the world, and planned to besiege him with the dragon. With the Jinpalau in his hand, he directly pulled it out from the air and slashed in the direction of Cronus. Pink wings. It's really lively. We CP people can't lag behind. Stussy suddenly exerted force on her feet, and the finger gun in her hand began to charge up, intending to poke a few holes in Cronus. As a CP, her 6-style skills are pretty good. She feels like a tiger and a tiger. When you besiege, do you respect martial ethics? Cronus didn't dare to be careless, he just kicked in the direction where the dragon was coming. Then he quickly adjusted his posture, sprayed a torrent of water from his mouth to meet Guion's slash, and then he and Stussy struggled together. Moria took a look at the battle situation over there and felt happy. It turned out they were not here to find him. Quick, let's run before Marine notices us. Moria's cadres nodded, and just when Moria was about to run away, Fanoka pushed up his glasses. A sniper rifle was quickly transformed into his hand, and he fired a shot in the direction of the dragon. Long reacted quickly and dodged the shot. However, Vanoka would not give up easily like this, and faced the Marine present with a round of crazy output. William also rolled up his sleeves and prepared to join the battlefield. William, lure people towards us and give our supernova Moria a little more weight. How much does it damage the supernova's reputation by running away like this? Van Oka suddenly spoke and said to William. William instantly understood that this was Van Oka's plan to drag Moria into the battle. The muddy the water, the better it is to fish in troubled waters. You are indeed bad at heart, but I like it. William rolled up his sleeves and laughed. The elemental William turned into a thin stream and quickly entangled the dragon who was about to attack Cronus. Isn't Captain Cronus fighting alone? The dragon obviously also noticed William and turned into a breeze. Then let me see what kind of strength the other members of the Kronos Pirates have. Long had only fought against Cronus, but he didn't dare to be careless about William, a Logia user. The two began to fight together, and Logia's energy began to conflict. William pretended to be defeated and started to fall in the direction of Moria. Hold the grass. Cronus's men are really not good guys. I actually thought they were good. I really made a mistake. Moria looked at William, who fell at his feet and felt that he might not be able to leave so easily. William, this guy with thick eyebrows and big eyes, thought he was an honest person, but now he seems to be the most evil. Wouldn't his conscience hurt if he lures people to him? Shadow Bat. Moria's shadow turned into numerous bats and began to intercept the attacking dragon. The scene was in chaos. Holy crap. How much hatred do I have against you, Marine and CP? That guy Moria is right next to you, so you just send some trash fish, but I'm facing a siege. Cronus saw the dragon. The fight with Moria ended at the touch of a button. He rushed towards him again, while Ryu and Gion's adjutant were stopping Moria. This is obviously much better than my own treatment. Jeffu looked at the chaotic battlefield in front of him and wisely picked a few CPs who were not too strong. Using his ability to store fruits, he beat the CP members to a pulp. The CP members were also extremely uncomfortable. They entered a small closed space for a while, and then came out again and changed people. Then 2 or 3 people take turns squatting in a small dark room. Immune to death is annoying but disgusting. Jeffu knew that his space could not accommodate too many people at once, otherwise he would not be able to bear the trouble they would cause to his space. So he came up with this disgusting style of fighting. Anyone who wanted to attack him would be dragged into the dark room. I have to say, this style of play is quite good. Judging from the expressions of the CPs in front of me, they must be disgusting. Cronus was thinking while thinking at the same time. If he continues to fight with Marine and CP like this, the worst thing will happen to him. Although Tetsuo's strength has improved after eating the devil fruit, he will definitely be overwhelmed by the long-term wheel battle. Besides, the situation on the Brave and the Cook is still unclear. While fighting with everyone, he moved in the direction of Van Oka. Captain Cronus seems to be under a lot of pressure, Van Oka said jokingly to Cronus as he saw that Cronus' body was covered with large and small wounds, but they were not fatal. The perverted physique of Boss Cronus is indeed suitable for being a slave. Van Oka, I just take it as a compliment. Cronus knew what these crew members looked like. If something really happened, he would definitely fight him to the end. What's the matter with the 2 words? The more severe the damage, the more ruthless you will fight for your life. But now his idea is to let Van Oka, William and Jeffu escape first. Although Van Oka and Jeffu were fierce, Marine knew that he and others were here, and the ordinary crew members on the Brave and the Cook were not as strong as them. Maybe he is also in a fierce battle with Marine now. As their captain, he has to think about them. You and William take Zeph back to take a look at the Brave and the Cook. Although we didn't receive any phone bugs, they may not be safe there either. Obviously Cronus's worries were unnecessary. When Gion and others encountered the Cook, they just carefully looked around with binoculars. They were not found, and they did not take the initiative to arrest them. The arrest operation may alert the snake, and only wait for the first few of them to be caught. That's where the arrest operation will begin. We're leaving. Where are you? Cronus, Van Oka asked, still worried. You still don't know Laozi's physique? Besides, isn't there our supernova Moria? After you escape, first drive the Cook and the Brave to nearby islands. Otherwise, Marine will not give up. I will personally come looking for you. Cronus arrange. Van Oka is also a decisive guy. Then don't die, you are our captain. Even if you are captured and pushed into the city, we will save you. Crow's mouth. You hope I get better, let's go. After Cronus finished speaking, he instantly entered the state of animal transformation, and a huge blue-haired monkey appeared out of thin air. Here are some fireworks for you. Enjoy them. The beast turned. Kronos' fists were covered with armed domineering energy, and he punched the ground several times. Cronus's punches brought up smoke, and Van Oka also took advantage of this time to rush in the direction of William and Zeph. The few people made eye contact and knew that they were about to run away, and Cronus was planning to cut off the queen. Don't die, Captain Cronus, Zeph shouted before he and William left. Moria looked at the smoke and knew that this was an opportunity. Young boys, you go first, and I'll cut you off. The captain wants to go, let's go together. Moria's crew refused to leave. Don't you still believe in Laozi's strength? You leave first so that I can leave? Moria began to curse angrily without waiting for the crew to complain. The crew members also saw Moria's determination, and they began to wipe their tears one by one, and they were about to run away. Captain Moria, you can't die. We are still waiting for you to take us to see the pinnacle of this world. Take us to explore the new world. Of course. Moria responded and stopped Marine and CP who were chasing his crew. Chapter 41 Moria, Companion, Support. Does Moria want to join forces? Cronus looked at Moria and asked. Although Moria felt a little unhappy, she knew that the best way now was to join forces with Cronus. I was tricked by you. Cronus listened to Moria's words without any embarrassment. Ha ha ha. Judging from the results, it is indeed true, but the sea is full of all kinds of variables, isn't it? Just when the two were about to join forces, the dragon suddenly appeared. Dragon Claw. The dragon formed a claw with one hand, condensing the power of armed domineering towards the two of them, one claw at a time. Then let's join forces with you temporarily, in order to escape. Moria nodded, agreeing to join forces. The two of them were already angry when they saw the dragon rushing over, and one of them greeted the dragon. The dragon had just been blocked from attacking, and he was secretly sighing that something was wrong. Gion went to chase Van Oka and others but returned in vain, and saw Ryu being besieged. An astonishing bouncing force erupted from his feet, and he waved the Jinpalau high in his hand, intending to split Cronus in half with the help of gravity acceleration. Don't underestimate the power of animal-type ability users. Cronus refused to evade Gion's leaping sword. He clasped his hands together, covered himself with armed hockey and rushed towards Gion. Gion did not expect that Cronus would not hide when faced with his sword. A huge force came from the sword in his hand, as if he was hit by a meteorite, and Gion was knocked away. Long reacted at this time. Good opportunity. The fruit's ability is activated very quickly. Among Logia users, the speed of light and thunder fruits is the first, and the speed of wind can be ranked second. In an instant, he touched Cronus' neck. Dragon Claw, Wind. Cronus didn't notice until he was touched, but he reacted quickly. If the dragon's attack directly poked his neck, it would definitely leave several bloody holes. However, he couldn't avoid it even if he had to dodge, so he could only use his weapon color and high-speed regeneration ability towards his neck with all his strength. Then the whole shoulder began to exert force violently, and the dragon's weak body was thrown out like a child in Cronus's beastly state. You seem to be ignored? Stussy looked at the people in the fighting group. He is really a difficult guy. It seems that the task of becoming a full-timer is not that easy to complete. Stussy is good at physical skills, and the 6 moves cannot cause much harm to the beastly Cronus, so he can only look for opportunities on the sidelines. Cronus couldn't find a chance, so he could only fight with Moria. Now it's 2 against 1. Moria cooperated with his shadow. Stussy dealt with it quite calmly. Kronos is under siege. Are you really not going to help? Stussy planned to let Moria get into trouble. Moria looked at Stussy in front of her, thinking about how to escape. It's true that I promised Cronus to join forces, but I can't really not run when I get the chance. After all, as long as I run faster than my peers, Marine will never be able to catch me. Some people on Marine's side have been divided into chasing their own crew and Cronus crew. Moria was somewhat confident in his men. As long as they could escape to the ship, Marine would not be able to catch them. He is waiting for an opportunity. The arm domineering energy condensed on the arm, like a hard armor. Cronus started fighting with Gion and the dragon in hand-to-hand combat. Ordinary Marines basically cannot participate in the battle between them, and Moria and Stussy are getting closer and closer to Cronus. Look at my kick. Gion's figure was incredibly fast. The dragon caught Cronus's eyes from the front, and Gion kicked Cronus directly in the lower body. Cronus's clothes were all torn due to his beast transformation, and that part became extremely obvious. Gion's kick directly stung Cronus. Gion raised the knife in his hand, preparing to slice it. Cronus covered his key parts and jumped up and down there. Seeing that Gion's actions would not let her succeed, he endured the pain and covered his fists with armed domineering force, and struck Gion hard. Fist. Just like that, Gion was punched hard by Cronus and flew away, leaving a ravine on the ground. There were many scratches on his body. The marine uniform he was wearing was also damaged, and the tender flesh that should have been white and shiny was now stained with blood. You really don't know how to show mercy. You said you wanted to join Marine, but this is how you treat your fellow Marines. Gion stood up and wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and said, "Are you okay?" Ryu asked Gion. "It's not a big problem?" "Ha ha ha. Now that I am a pirate and you are Marines, we are already hostile to each other. You don't have to try to incite me with words." Cronus' pain eased slightly. "My high-speed regeneration combined with the fantasy beast's body is really abnormal. Apart from the pain, it is completely easy to repair." Moria was now conscientiously helping Cronus stop Stussy. "I have been thinking about the time in my mind. My crew members should have returned to the pirate ship, right? Cronus, you are under great pressure and do you need my help?" Moria leaned over while confronting Stussy. Stussy fought with Moria for a while, and felt that Moria was not the kind of player who could win in a short time. Moria's shadow fruit is very difficult to deal with. I thought I attacked Moria, but Moria can exchange with shadow. Your own attacks have no effect. The fruit's ability and strong physical skills, coupled with the advantage of the shadow fruit's ability to fly, made Moria's battle relatively easy. Cronus watched Moria coming this way, nodded and planned to join forces with Moria, ready to find an opportunity to escape. "Okay, let's take action together." Moria began to merge with his own shadow, and Kronos also began to gather his domineering energy crazily. The two began to use all their strength. Cronus punched the ground. Moria got a pair of scissors from somewhere and stabbed it straight in conjunction with Cronus' attack. With a bang, the entire Seven Waters city felt like it was shaking. Ryu, Guion and Stussy faced the two full blows and planned to retreat first. It is unwise to insist on eating. It was at this moment that Moria suddenly used his ability to fly and flew high into the sky. Brother Cronus, I'm sorry, please hold me back and run away, Moria said as the shadow incarnation's wings flapped more frequently and slipped away. As a user with the wind fruit ability, Long certainly has the ability to fly, but he will not let Cronus go after Moria. Moria, you are indeed a good material to be a pirate. Next time you meet me, I must invite you to join me. Cronus was not angry at all when Moria left him and ran away. I tricked him, and it didn't take long for him to get him back. It seems that he is not the only one among the pirates who is so shameless. Cronus looked at Moria flying further and further away, and did not delay any longer. The main reason why he dragged Long and the others to fight here for a long time was to buy time for Vanoka and the others. Maybe they have forgotten that they are people with fruit abilities who can swim freely in the sea. Cronus began to lose his martial ethics and ran towards the port and the sea. The dragon was very fast, but Cronus did not block the dragon's attacks and concentrated on running. Soon I saw the beach, sprinted and jumped high, rushed into the sea with a crash. Ryu, Guion, and Stussy just stared at the sea in a daze. Are we still chasing? Stussy asked. Only then did Long look regretful. I forgot to tell you, this guy is a person with the ability to swim freely in the sea. After Guion and Stussy heard this, their mouths opened wide. Is this still the ability user they thought was hated by the sea? Are people with abilities so wild now? They can swim freely in the sea? Stussy covered her mouth and laughed. Her interest in Cronus became intense. The failure of CP's mission is not a big deal to her. The biggest problem is that she will not become a regular employee. She has many solutions. Guion suddenly felt dizzy and fainted. Ryu quickly touched Guion's head, and then heard Guion's slight snoring. Turns out he was asleep. It scared me. Guion was exhausted, and there was a boatload of female soldiers on the sea that she needed to worry about. After discovering the cook in the capital of Seven Waters, she followed up on everything single-handedly. In addition, during this battle, he was punched hard twice by Cronus. My body can no longer support it. After all, she is a woman, and her strength has not grown to the level of a general candidate. This night in the capital of Seven Waters is a sleepless night. The huge shaking at night made the people of the Seven Waters city think there was an earthquake. Will the Seven Waters city be flooded by a tsunami? Many people sat in fear all night, only to realize at dawn that nothing had happened. Chapter 42 The Common Hobbies of Moria and Cronus. Guion had a good sleep, and when she woke up, two female soldiers were applying potion to her. She felt that her internal organs were a little damaged, so she went to a doctor in the capital of Seven Waters for some casual treatment. The medical conditions in the Seven Waters capital are still not as good as those at Marine headquarters. After all, there are many healing devil fruit users in the headquarters. They do not participate in the war as combatants and are managed by Marine's logistics team. Guion plans to return to Marine headquarters for detailed treatment. Compared to Guion, Long and Stussy's injuries were much less serious. They were just scratches and at most they were broken bones. Not only did Guion have several broken bones, his internal organs were also severely damaged. The dragon can be attributed to a strong physique, and Stussy spent most of the time paddling. Guion's face looked a little ugly, and he complained more and more about Cronus in his heart. He was really a guy who didn't know how to show mercy. During the fight, it was clear that Long was the main force, but Long's injuries were not too serious, yet he was beaten so embarrassingly. This guy wanted to be a marine, but he was really lying to himself. Long, Cronus is not a simple guy. I saw from the news that there are many people who can fight you. I thought you were letting it go. After all, I know your strength. Yesterday's battle really hurt me. Confidence, Guion said after putting on the bandage. I only recently learned that he can use his abilities in seawater, and being able to use his abilities in seawater is naturally very difficult. Long frowned, feeling a little uncomfortable. People with abilities who can use their abilities in seawater are much harder to catch than people with abilities who are disgusted by seawater. More importantly, people lose most of their combat effectiveness in seawater. Cronus's devil fruit is water-friendly at first glance, and may be able to exert 120% of its strength in the sea. When you went to arrest him, he overturned your boat directly from the bottom of the sea. Did you have a headache? The world government and Marine headquarters don't pay enough attention to him. I originally thought that the reward of 200 million was already after he killed the celestial dragons, and the celestial dragons increased the reward amount for him according to the degree of threat. Now I find that 200 million is lower. Stussy also came over and said. Guion looked unhappy after hearing Stussy's words, but the actor had the nerve to say this. However, as long as Marine and CP don't get in the way of each other, do they still expect to work together? Thinking of this makes my face feel better. Do the world government and Marine value Cronus? Of course they do. But Marine and the world government did not expect that Cronus would grow so fast and be able to abandon the shortcomings of the devil fruit and use it freely in the sea. To report to the headquarters, we must stop such villains in the Saboti archipelago, otherwise it will not be easy to arrest them if they really enter the New World. Guion said softly from the side. While talking, he coughed twice. Next, we need to thoroughly search the capital of Seven Waters. Marine is conducting an intensive search in the capital of Seven Waters. Marine's big move in the Seven Waters capital also let the residents of the Seven Waters capital know that a big shot was coming to the Seven Waters capital. After all, Marine can search here for a week, not even missing the entrance to the sewer. The residents of the Seven Rivers capital also spread the news that the aftermath of the earthquake that night was said to be the aftermath of a battle. Then the news became more and more crazy, and the news became more and more evil. The version that has been circulated so far has become that someone can drive Poseidon, which is why Marine attaches so much importance to arresting people in the capital of Seven Waters for such a long time. The battle that night was caused by the pirates driving the Poseidon class. This strange incident was quickly published in the newspapers, but everyone just watched it as a joke and enjoyed it. No one thinks that anyone can really drive the Poseidon class. Even people in other places heard the strange stories from the residents of the Seven Waters capital and laughed at the residents of the Seven Waters capital for their lack of common sense. For nearly a week, Cronus and Moria were nowhere to be found, and Marine couldn't keep doing anything here. In the end, they had to reluctantly evacuate and return to Marine headquarters. At this time, the sea is not far away from the Seven Waters city. Ha 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 ha. Captain Moria really tricked Cronus, and he felt happy instantly. The officers of the Moria Pirates were happy to hear Moria bragging with them. When they first found out that Marine and CP were brought in by Cronus, they were still aggrieved. After Moria said that, he left Cronus and ran away alone, and everyone was instantly happy again. Captain Moria, Cronus must have escaped. There was a strange story in the newspaper recently. Coupled with Marine's actions, it seems that Marine did not catch Cronus. One of the crew members under Moria ran over with a newspaper in his hands and whined. If Cronus, a vicious criminal who killed the celestial dragons, was caught by Marine, he would definitely write a big story in the newspapers. This is to deter pirates and villains who have different ideas about the celestial dragons. But there is no such news in the newspapers now, and there is news about Marine arresting important criminals in the capital of Seven Waters. It seems that Kronos was not detained that night. He is indeed a vicious criminal who ranks as a supernova with boss Moria. Moria's cadres lamented. Why do you think so much? We have to work hard to make money so we can build a bigger ship. Moria didn't care about Kronos' life or death. Kronos' behavior fits the definition of a pirate in Moria's opinion. The two of them are the same type of people. They both have love and loyalty for their partners, and they can trick their peers whenever they can. Moria has been asking about Kronos a lot recently. After all, he suffered a big loss at his hands, and suddenly discovered that Kronos also likes to rob his colleagues. This can be regarded as having a common hobby with him. Moria wanted to make his new ship bigger. Hearing that Kronos wanted to build a giant steel ship that could accommodate 1,000 people, Moria was also greedy. That is comparable to the top-notch warship in Marine headquarters. Or is it made of all steel? How awesome does that have to be? Moria doesn't have that perverted obsession with ships now, and has no desire to build a ship like an island. But I don't have enough money, so now I can only start my old business and borrow money from my colleagues. Now I won't go back to the Seven Waters capital for the time being. I will stay here for a while to block the pirates coming and going. Forgive that old guy Robert for not daring to swallow his deposit. Moria and others chose a route at random and began to station themselves on nearby islands, waiting for the lucky ones among the pirates to contribute to their new ship. Cronus also successfully reunited with Van Oka and others. The crew members of the Cook and the Brave did not suffer any casualties in order to avoid Marine's pursuit. The two ships were in the sea not far from the Seven Waters, and they had been drifting on the sea for more than 10 days. Captain Kronos is really getting more and more powerful. He can escape from the combined efforts of Ryu, Guion and CP agents, an ordinary crew member said to his companions. That's our captain, but thanks to the help of the Moria Pirates, it's not that easy to escape without them behind us, said a crew member who knew something about the situation. Ha 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 ha. Speaking of which, we are really the nemesis of our peers, or maybe Boss Kronos likes to catch our peers and plunder them. Who says it's not the case? Our Kronos Pirates don't have a good reputation among pirates right now. If you see our pirate flag, you will run faster than if you see a marine warship. Fanoka, Kronos and William are having a fishing competition. Fanoka's fish basket has the most fish, William's fish basket also has 2 or 3 fish, only Kronos' fish basket has nothing, and it's the Air Force. Kronos' face turned red from holding back. No comparison. The fish in this sea area have no connection with me. If I change to another sea area, you will definitely not be able to catch me. Urgent, urgent, Fanoka and William joked from the side. Jeffu also came out of the kitchen with juice at this time. Boss Kronos has always been like this when fishing, can't you just let him have some? When Kronos heard Zeph's words, he nodded with satisfaction, and his love for him was not in vain. It's perfectly normal for Kronos to fight against the Air Force. Why don't you stuff some fish into his basket? Jeffu is imparting his experience of being charming. William patted Jeffu on the shoulder. You kid, if you don't learn from your good deeds, you'll end up making some mess. Fanoka nodded in agreement. Oh, are you stupid? Jeffu looked shocked. If Captain Kronos fights against the Air Force, he will have to undergo special training for us. It will be really uncomfortable for him to be beaten. You three, you really don't think I'm here? Looks like I'm going to have a good love sparring session with the three of you. Ah. The screams resounded across the sky and spread far away. Chapter 43 Design of New Ships. That young man named Moria, didn't you come back with you? Uncle Robert asked Cronus with a smile. Cronus and others did not drift on the sea all the time. After hearing that Marine had left, they immediately visited the Seven Waters capital. Uncle, has Moria not come yet? Cronus was a little confused. Logically speaking, Moria ran away before him, and he should have received the news that Marine had evacuated, so he shouldn't have not come back. Did he not want his ship? If he doesn't come back, why don't we build your ship first? Uncle Robert suggested. Cronus immediately smiled after hearing Robert's words. That's not bad. Then I had a casual chat with Uncle Robert. Uncle Robert is old, but except for his ears, he is quite strong. If he had been younger, Cronus might have invited Robert on board. But now that Robert is getting older, it's time for him to retire and enjoy a few years of peace and quiet. Cronus did not extend an invitation to Robert either, so as not to bother the old man. Otherwise, according to Mr. Robert's rigid conditions, you can get started as soon as you board the ship. It comes with its own fruits and domineering power. It is a high-quality potential stock at first glance. So do you have any specific ideas about your ship? Robert asked Cronus and others. Cronus also began to seek advice from his crew. Some crew members wanted to be warmer, some wanted to look powerful and domineering and run fast, some wanted to be bigger, and some wanted to be more powerful. The chatter made old Robert's ears buzz. Stop, I already know your opinions, I will try my best to satisfy you. If you have design drawings, you can show them to me, and the progress will be faster. Robert stopped quickly. Otherwise, let them keep talking and ask for more. Maybe you'll want to be able to fly. Robert also knew that Cronus and others were pirates, but he didn't care that he was in the pirate business. A pirate has a lot of money but a lot of demands, but today these guys taught him a lesson and asked for a lot of money. We are a group of pirates, do you think we have the ability to make blueprints? Cronus felt that Uncle Robert was discriminating against them because they were pirates from the countryside. Who would ask a serious person if a pirate has a design drawing? If I had a design drawing, I would come to you to build a ship. It's just a routine inquiry. There are some pirates who design their own ships, but the design is a bit hard to accept, Robert explained. In his career, he has seen laymen designing ships on their own. Some pirates are so ignorant. He wanted to do everything by hand, but in the end he made something completely different, and insisted on building it for them according to their drawings. Of course Robert would not have trouble with money. However, according to their design, the ship will definitely sink within a few months. After all, the budget is not high and the design does not meet the requirements. It is strange that it does not sink. Robert carefully thought about Kronos' conditions and continued. I will personally come up with the design drawings, but I have to agree with you in advance. Uncle Robert, don't be so nagging, just tell me what you have to say. William, standing aside, really couldn't stand Robert's pretense. Robert shook his hand. We need more money. Everyone in the Kronos Pirates is stunned. According to your requirements, the ship needs to be more powerful, and the materials consumed are not small. Robert took out his notebook and recorded it. There is enough money for the materials, so you don't have to worry about this, sir, Cronus said hurriedly. With Deng Lun's treasure and the Baileys obtained from fellow pirates, more than 2 billion Baileys can still be scraped together. It should be enough to build a ship. Luffy and his team's Sunny only cost 200 million Baileys. It was more expensive than the keel, so I guess it should be enough. It's really no good to sell the cultural relics in Deng Lun's treasure. Although they look shabby, they can still be sold for some money. If you put it like that, the uncle will understand. Robert's eyes were also shining brightly. It said that even a man who was not short of money could give full play to his subjective initiative. He has long wanted to build a ship that would allow him to put down his shipbuilding career with peace of mind. It seems that this time the opportunity has come. The ships of Kronos and Moria may be his last works. You should know that the larger the ship, the slower it will sail and its flexibility will be greatly reduced. It is impossible to meet your requirements 100%, Robert continued to write in his notebook. Cronus nodded after listening to Robert's words. It is normal for the size of the ship to affect its flexibility and speed. However, Cronus felt that Robert had something to say. If he wanted to increase the speed, if the ship was too big, then he would increase the power. There are always more solutions than difficulties. Uncle Robert, you must have something to do, right? Otherwise you wouldn't be nagging me here for so long, Cronus continued to ask. Steam engines. You should know that if a ship is too big to be driven by a steam engine, it will require a lot of coal. I have recently learned a mechanical device called an internal combustion engine from other islands. If you don't worry, I will personally build an enhanced one for you. Addition. Robert put down the pen in his hand. The fuel for your internal combustion engine isn't coke, is it? Cronus suddenly thought of the power system Frankie used for the Sunny, and the power required was coke. No. There is a set of supporting equipment that can convert any liquid that can provide energy into fuel for an internal combustion engine. Robert continued to explain. Cronus felt relieved after hearing Robert's words. Although he did not object to using coke as a source of motivation, using coke seemed too messy no matter what. I'm sorry to bother you. Cronus gave full power to Robert. Then I'll go down and finish the design first. By the way, it may be very big and it won't be easy for you to dock at the port in the future. Do you have any good suggestions or ideas? After all, as pirates, in some cases you can't approach the port openly. Cronus listened to Robert's words carefully. What kind of port did he originally want to say that would not allow us to dock? Then I thought about it. It seems that the port of Marine headquarters cannot be docked. So the ship is too big and there is indeed a defect. How to solve it? Cronus paced back and forth, and Robert did not rush. Shipbuilding was a big deal, and it would not waste much time to be slow for a while. Cronus suddenly thought of a good idea, but he didn't know if it would work. Uncle Robert, I have an idea that I would like to ask you for advice. Tell me and listen. Cronus picked up a stone on the ground, drew a circle on the ground, and drew many waves around the circle. Suppose this is the sea. Can the ship we build normally travel on the sea? Can it dive under the sea at critical moments? Cronus proposed the concept of submarines. He knew that Luo's future ship would be a small submarine, but a small submarine obviously did not fit his style and he wanted to build a larger one. He also wanted Robert to use his professional knowledge and vision to see if this idea would work. After all, large submarines and small submarines are completely different concepts. Maybe it will work. Robert had a feeling of enlightenment. When pirates go to the New World, they have to coat their boats with a coating. As long as they build their boats tightly enough so that they don't leak, can they transform into submarines? The laws of physics in the pirate world are obviously completely different from those in real society. After all, a layer of bubble wrap can lead people to dive 10,000 meters under the sea. But the cost will be 20% higher, and the metal used will have to be replaced with a stronger one. Robert continued to ask for more money. Uncle, money is not an issue. Chapter 44 Large Submarine. Robert was very busy at this time. I started to meet with my old friends frequently and asked them to help me with the design drawings. After half a month of waiting, the design drawing was finally finalized successfully. Of course, these half months were not completely idle. Robert ordered his workers to start purchasing steel from everywhere. Robert also plans to show his design to Cronus and others. Master Robert's design classroom is now open. Everyone in the Kronos Pirates gathered around Robert, listening to Master Robert's lectures like primary school students attentively. Robert is called a master in this field except Tom. No one dares to say that he is better than him. Even breaking it down a bit, in the field of steel ship construction, no one dares to believe that he is number one even if he thinks he is second. Countless marine warships were designed by him, and even the Marine Fleet Admiral's steel-framed ship was designed and built by him himself. According to your requirements, I designed this ship to be very large. It can be said to be the largest ship I have ever designed. It is as big as 2.5 of Marine's top warships. Robert changed the analogy, otherwise it would be impossible to just talk about the size. Many people have no idea. After all, some people will say 5 meters when they see 3 meters. For people who do not deal with sizes every day, their perception of size is inherently vague. Is it that big? Cronus also exclaimed. It's more than enough to accommodate 1,000 people. I've also added a lot of automation systems to it. It can make your life more convenient, but it needs regular maintenance, otherwise it may break down over time, Robert continued. Robert also has considerations for the automation system. If it is to be used as a ship on a daily basis, it is indispensable to have a powerful automation system that can transform into a submarine at critical moments. Now that I have installed them all, I might as well get more on board to make life more convenient. Then my life will be comfortable from now on. Is it equipped with an electric system? I also want to build a big cold storage in the kitchen. Jeffu suddenly tilted his mouth, thinking that he would have a big kitchen in the future, which would make him laugh out of his dreams. At that time, these will be taken into consideration for you. Of course, what we are going to build now is the main body. You will pay for these and add them yourself later. Robert saw everyone excited and knew that his hard work during this period was worth it. After hearing this, Cronus felt a pain in his waist. According to Robert's approach, the budget felt a bit insufficient. It seems that we have to block colleagues who want to build new ships in the waters near the capital of the Seven Seas. They should have some money on them, so it shouldn't be a big problem to borrow some for themselves first. As for their own new ships, what kind of new ships should they build? Is it because the old ships are no longer useful? Such a waste is unacceptable. I still have feelings for the Brave and the Cook. Do I have to throw them away after the new ship is built? William was a little disappointed. Although the Brave and the Cook have various shortcomings, the Brave and the Cook have been taking them on this journey, and they spend a lot of happy time on it. Kronos saw William's frustration and patted William on the shoulder. The Chef and the Brave will also want us to go further. After we have created a world in the new world, we will come back and take them with us. Go home. Bring back the home we built with our own hands. Fanoka and Jeffu also patted William. Feelings are indescribable. Robert looked at the sad people and didn't know what to say. He had seen a lot of such scenes in his career. This is also the scene that shipbuilders like him are most happy to see. They also hope that their ships will be treated well. Don't be so pessimistic. My shipyard has a lot of empty spaces. You can park the boat there and I will help you maintain it. You can pick it up when you are free. That's really troublesome, sir. William turned from sadness to joy after hearing this. But before he could be happy for long, the uncle opened his mouth slightly again. But everyone rolled their eyes and responded in unison, "We need more money." Uncle Robert is good at everything, but his character that falls in the eyes of money should be changed. Uncle Robert nodded happily. These young men are really sensible. Although they are pirates, they are all good kids. Robert continued. I have also reserved space for hundreds of artillery pieces inside the hull. You can add more at any time if you need it. The firepower is so fierce, everyone exclaimed. This is the space reserved in the hull. If the deck is filled with artillery, wouldn't it be possible to completely suppress the fire? You must know that they also have a weapon fruit ability user Fanoka, who really has never lost in terms of firepower. You can also place artillery on the deck, but if you often use it as a submarine, I suggest you don't put it there. It's not worth wasting a lot of ammunition after just one dive. Robert thoughtfully put forward his own little suggestion. Robert knew that pirates needed to pass through Fishman Island to travel between New World and the first half of the Grand Line. If the diving function was not used frequently, it would be really cost-effective to place cannonballs on the deck. You can just move it into the warehouse when you go to the New World, but if you often enter submarine mode and rush on the road, it will be troublesome to move it around. If you leave it alone, the weapon will also become rusty. The corrosive power of seawater is not that simple. Got it. Next, I have to talk about my most proud design. I designed the automated sensing system that I am most satisfied with. As long as you press the submarine mode button during operation, all windows and doors will automatically activate, and there will be a layer of activity above. Steel will cover them perfectly. Do you know how long it only takes? With my exquisite design, it can be completed in 3 minutes, and it can enter submarine mode in 3 minutes. After Robert finished speaking, he looked proud. He was so satisfied with this work. No one was impressed by the speed of entering submarine mode, which greatly affected Robert's self-confidence. How difficult is it to complete a mode change when all the mechanisms are activated at the same time? Don't they know how awesome my automation system is? Robert emphasized it again and again, but everyone was indifferent to it. Uncle Robert, what about the speed? Why didn't you say the speed? Cronus asked. You must know that when encountering a marine on the sea, although your own ship is large, it is impossible to overturn the other party's ship just by relying on the ship. If the opponent doesn't have a strong person, bullying the opponent like this is feasible. But what would happen if Fleet Admiral and the 3 generals were on the ship? If he ran too slowly, he would be sent to impel down for further training. Only then did Uncle Robert realize that he had forgotten to introduce the speed. There is indeed a small flaw in the speed aspect. The ship I designed is too large. Although it has an internal combustion engine as power, it still cannot compare with the top marine warships. It can only reach the level of ordinary warships, but I wonder why you want such a fast speed. Wouldn't it be better to sneak into the water and slip away? Only then did Cronus realize that he was building a submarine, and he was afraid that others would sail faster than him. What was he worried about? Next, I heard Robert bragging wildly about his technology and design. Although everyone didn't understand, they just felt that he was very awesome. But the more he heard about it, the more frightened Cronus became. He didn't have enough funds. I originally thought that 1 billion Baileys would be more than enough to build a ship, but according to Robert's crazy operation, even 3 billion Baileys might not be able to build a ship. Chapter 45 Cronus Lil Fanboy Lafitte. I have adjusted the age of Lafitte, making sure that the spray is lighter. Lafitte is still a child at this time, but it does not prevent me from letting him on the ship. There are not many famous navigators, so I want to choose the one in the original book as much as possible. Character. I hope everyone understands, West Blue, the home of red wine. A young security officer wearing a black and white shirt, a top hat, and holding a sword was facing accusations from a group of people. Everything I did was to protect the land of red wine. Although my methods may have been a little cruel, I also sweated and shed blood for the land of red wine. You can't just expel me like this. The security officer's name is Lafitte, and he has been a security officer since he was 18 years old. It can be said that he is young and promising. In order to get himself promoted faster, the methods he used were indeed excessive, but there was no doubt that the results were good. In 3 years, he had wiped out the atmosphere of the red wine country, and everything was prosperous. Anyone who breaks the law will be sent to a detention center. What will greet them there will be Lafitte's personal punishment. Anyone who has been there will definitely change their past. After all, losing a small part of yourself for a trivial matter is not worth the gain. The country of red wine does not need thugs like you. The villagers have complained to the world government, and the world government has also issued a final ultimatum. Lafitte, you have been expelled from the country of red wine. Lafitte was dejected. Did he do all this wrong? When facing evil, we should use the most brutal methods to deal with them. He had also seen the big news that the Tianlong people were killed on Agan Island some time ago, and he was applauded in his heart. To rid the world of evil, we have to use the most violent means. Cronus did the right thing. The world has been sick for too long. He could only use violent means to promote harmony in the wine country, but what he got in the end was expulsion. How could he be willing to do so? What kind of courage did Cronus have to wield his butcher knife against the god of the world? Lafitte decided to go and see if he had really done something wrong. The back figure that Cronus left for Lafitte is very bright and majestic. To some extent, evil is the only way to promote the process of light. Lafitte has always thought so, but why are there so many ignorant people in this world? They don't understand. Lafitte decided to go to the Grand Line and follow in the footsteps of Cronus. Cronus learned from Robert that even if their ship speeds up, it will take half a year at the earliest. This is also due to the extremely developed shipbuilding industry in the Seven Waters capital, and many accessories can be purchased in the Seven Waters capital. There are also many skilled workers who can continue construction in 3 shifts as long as they are willing to pay more. Cronus also went to see how Robert built the ship in person. Cronus couldn't help but rub his eyes after seeing the tendons on Robert's shirtless body. Are these really the muscles an 80-year-old man should have? The use of molten fruit is also very mature. It can be seen that Robert is right to trust him in shipbuilding. The construction time is so long, we can't keep wasting it in the capital of 7 waters. The current construction funds are enough, but according to Robert's construction method, I feel a little unsure. Cronus said to Fanoka, who was aside, said. Jeffu and William had already led a group of boys to take the cultural relics and gold on the ship to the market for reselling. Although gold can be used directly as money, reselling it to make more money will be enough for Robert to build for a while. Fanoka was still holding his delicate little pipe and puffing away smoke. Just leave the shipbuilding to Mr. Robert. I heard that the guy from Moria is back again, and he plans to let Mr. Robert build it for him first. Cronus also lit a cigarette and took a deep breath. This guy Moria is quite interesting. I thought he was going to fight me, but he even bought me a drink. He is indeed a man who has made it this far. It seems that part of their shipbuilding funds were obtained from cheating with other pirates during this period. The two have been together for such a long time and have already developed a special tacit understanding. Are you planning to take advantage of this time to go to the sea to fish for something? Fanoka asked. The one who knows me is Vanoka. Cronus finally understood how much it costs to build the marine. No wonder the behemoth marine cannot be separated from the world government. Every year, the marine warship alone can kill the marine headquarters. This ship of mine was a complete accident. Although each marine warship cannot afford such a large expenditure, there are a lot of marine warships. The range of marine radiation is too wide, and the annual maintenance and replacement of various warships adds up to a large amount of money. We also need to issue bounties on pirates around the world. Although the bounties have reached a certain level, they are basically captured by marine themselves. However, pirates with tens of millions of belly are still captured from time to time and exchanged with marine for bounty, and the expenses are not small. Half a year is really not a good time. If not for insufficient funds, Moria would have planned to transform an island into a big ship. Cronus was a little curious about Moria's idea. What kind of brain circuit could he think of transforming the island into a ship? The problem is that Moria really made it happen. Moria, who will become Shichibukai in the future, really built an island as a ship, and it is the largest ship in the world. Cronus actually wanted to go to the Sky Island and get the gold from the Sky Island, but the problem was that no one on the whole ship could fly. Although I can use Wu Jiji's ability to stay in the air for a short time, that is not flying, it is just an application of my own electricity. It's decided. Zeph and William will keep an eye on the progress here, and let them resell the gold and cultural relics into Bailey's. The two of us will go to sea to make some cash. Cronus didn't want to just sit there like this. Although you can also exercise every day. But basic training will make progress faster than actual combat with others. Marine really needs to pay us some wages. We have done a lot to weaken the pirates. Fanoka felt that Marine had taken advantage of them. They extorted many pirates along the way at sea, but not many were actually killed, just for money. Besides, pirates are also a non-renewable resource. If you kill them yourself, what will happen if those who go to sea can't keep up? Leave it to Marine to kill the thief, and I will just plunder the wool. As long as you are willing to pay, I will keep you safe. We are all thieves. Do you want to rob merchant ships again? Cronus suggested in a frenzied manner. The merchant ships that rush to do business on the Grand Route are all very wealthy. If you occasionally blackmail them, there shouldn't be any big problem. We should have done this a long time ago. Pirates can't save money, and just robbing pirates is not as fast as robbing a merchant ship. Fanoka agreed. It's a stopgap measure. Just collect enough money and stop doing it, but you have to continue harvesting pirate wool.